Maria is here. All right. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Erdem. Thank you, Vanit. Looks like we're loud and clear, Seth. We have people here waiting, so let's get
All right,
started.
let's do it. So, just to remind you all, every month we're bringing you the best entrepreneurs and the experts from around the industry to share with you strategies for growth on and off of Amazon. Okay. So, here's the format. I'll just remind you because the last one we did was in November. Each month, we're going to have 2 to 5 guest speakers. Each speaker will present their strategies for probably between 20 and 45 minutes. Usually, the topics will center around creating more profits with your Amazon or e-commerce business, but we're going to not limit ourselves there. Sometimes, like last masterclass, we have an opportunity outside of Amazon. So we don't want to limit us because an opportunity that might be outside of our industry might be so good that we would invite that guest speaker to come share with you. And we have strategically placed the unique speakers together each month. That way you can get exposure to outside of your box thinking, because that's where all of the best ideas have come from for us. So here's something important to remember. The reason we are hosting these monthly masterclasses is literally to help you make more money and to achieve your dreams. And we want you to know that we never accept payment of any form, and that includes affiliate commissions from any of our guest speakers. So if someone's here with us, it's not because they paid us to be here, it's because we invited them to share.
Love
That
it.
means that if we bring a speaker onto the monthly masterclass, you can rest assured that we believe that they will add value to most of you in some way. If you are not in the group yet, you can get bonus strategies almost.
Maria is here. All right. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Erdem. Thank you, Vanit. Looks like we're loud and clear, Seth. We have people here waiting, so let's get
All right,
started.
let's do it. So, just to remind you all, every month we're bringing you the best entrepreneurs and the experts from around the industry to share with you strategies for growth on and off of Amazon. Okay. So, here's the format. I'll just remind you because the last one we did was in November. Each month we're going to have 2 to 5 guest speakers. Each speaker will present their strategies for probably between 20 and 45 minutes. Usually, the topics will center around creating more profits with your Amazon or e-commerce business, but we're going to not limit ourselves there. Sometimes, like last masterclass, we have an opportunity outside of Amazon. So we don't want to limit us because an opportunity that might be outside of our industry might be so good that we would invite that guest speaker to come share with you. And we have strategically placed the unique speakers together each month. That way you can get exposure to outside of your box thinking, because that's where all of the best ideas have come from for us. So here's something important to remember. The reason we are hosting these monthly masterclasses is literally to help you make more money and to achieve your dreams. And we want you to know that we never accept payment of any form, and that includes affiliate commissions from any of our guest speakers. So if someone's here with us, it's not because they paid us to be here, it's because we invited them to share.
Love
That
it.
means that if we bring a speaker onto the monthly masterclass, you can rest assured that we believe that they will add value to most of you in some way. If you are not in the group yet, you can get bonus strategies almost every single week. That should say week, not day, in our WhatsApp group. If you go to joinprivategroup.com or scan that QR code, we'll drop in 1 or 2 strategies per week that help you grow your Amazon or e-commerce business. So I'll just leave it here for a few seconds longer. So get your camera out, scan that QR code, or go to joinprivategroup.com. That'll pull up our WhatsApp group where we will post strategies that are a little unique pretty frequently. So if everybody's good there, let's get into the agenda, which I'm excited about today, Sean. So here's the agenda for today. This may not go in order, but here is the list of the topics that we're going to be discussing. Jamie Davidson is going to talk about using AI to dramatically increase your business on Amazon and how that plays in. So that's really a hot topic right now. Yulia is going to talk about finding manufacturers outside of China, what to watch out for, and how to get best deals for yourself, and also optimizing your supply chain in this turbulent world. We have Anthony Cofrancesco talking about Amazon photo listing optimization strategies for maximizing your conversion rates. We have Chris McCabe talking about preventing seller suspensions and how to protect yourself today, which is amazing. And then lastly, Sean and I are going to be talking about how you can double your sales on Amazon without adding products or spending more on marketing. So Sean, let's cue up Jamie here and jump right into strategies.
Yes, I see Jamie over here in the chat box. Long time no talk, Jamie. It seems like we keep meeting like this. My wife's going to get a little jealous because you're everywhere. Jamie Davidson, omnipresent from AMZ Insiders. Are you going to upgrade Jamie?
Let's see what we can do here. Let's go ahead and upgrade Jamie.
Let's see.
Now he's with us live.
There he is. Jamie, you're still muted, so I'm going to ask you to unmute here. Should just be click the button. Jamie's a professional. Don't worry. Hey, what's up, Jamie?
What's up, guys? This is awesome.
Hey, Joey Roberts is in the house. You got to send a shout out there to your business partner.
Oh yeah, she doesn't like missing your guys' stuff, so she's always on. So it sounds like there's a great agenda today for the different topics. So I'm interested in hearing the other presenters.
Yep. Joey, if Jamie says something that's a little bit gray area, you just let us know. Raise your hand, and I'll mic you up. You can come in here and fix him.
That will probably happen. So that's
all right. I'm going to fall off a video here, Seth, and I guess is Jamie presenting from his machine?
Yeah, Jamie, go ahead and do a screen share, Sean. We might have to give him permission, so I just need to make sure that he has that.
Okay, should have it now, Jamie.
All right, awesome. Yep, looks like I got it. Sweet, cool.
Okay.
Seth, anything else before I get started, or?
Now let's jump right into it, Jamie. So I'll go ahead and introduce you. So if you guys don't know Jamie, he's been around the industry for a long time. We've kind of crossed paths indirectly for a long time. And then over the course of the last, I would say, year, we've done a lot of things with Jamie, and it's really impressive every time that we do something with you, Jamie. We really appreciate you. You've been around the Amazon seller space for a long time. You've been involved in mega Amazon businesses. So you have a lot of experience. So I'm excited to see what you guys have uncovered with AI to help out. So take it away, Jamie.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So yeah, this is obviously, it's a really hot topic. And, we started in 2011 on Amazon, and, as Seth was referring to, we built a big business. We hit 100 million in 2018, but we got to like 10 million really fast, a lot faster than you typically would get to today. Matter of fact, within about 2 years, we were at that scale, and it was a different environment then too, in terms of, it was, truly the Wild West. There was truly black, now you consider very black hat. At the time, we just considered it the way you figured out how to build systems to sell our products, which was mostly cell phone accessories then. But right now reminds me of that time period a little bit, because of this AI topic. Now, there's a lot of noise. And so really the goal today is not that, hey, we've got this thing figured out, mastered. I want to show you up to date what we are doing and what we're working on. One thing I think we've done fairly well is we've moved pretty quick on things that we think are worthwhile. And there's always new, like, shiny objects and everything else out there. But a lot of the things, we also say no to, right? So, and not to say that they're bad ideas, they won't pay out, but for us, there's certain things that excite us. This topic does excite us because it's very real. We're already seeing results, and I want to share some of those things with you all. And at the same time, say, hey, none of us have this all figured out, but hey, let's talk about some of this together and continue the conversation beyond this short presentation here as well too. Other examples of things, like, let's say, like NFTs, certain things. I know some people found some creative ways to try to tie that to Amazon. For me, those are things that, like, if it's not clear enough and straightforward enough, then I say, not for me, not to focus on. The thing about this AI topic is that it really can do a lot of things. It can save you a lot of money, and it can also make you a lot of money as we go through it. So why AI? First, before, I'll talk about, most of you guys probably are familiar with ChatGPT, but we'll give a quick summary of that too. But why AI? Say, this is one of those things that I call last to first, first to last, which is, if you are struggling right now, if you're behind the curve, if you leverage the power of these tools and you get kind of first, quote unquote, first moves advantage, or at least the first grouping advantage, you can literally go from last to first in your business. And on the flip side, if you're at the forefront, like typically with my own businesses, we're out leading the pack, we're doing well. It's all the reason why we know we have to stay on top of this stuff. If we don't implement some of this stuff, we can very quickly go first to last. I mean, this is how serious this stuff is. And it's not just for your Amazon business, it's really for businesses across the board. And with that, we're actually collaborating on this topic. I'm collaborating with some of the top minds outside the Amazon space. So, like, for example, in the real estate space, we've got some really kind of world-class entrepreneurs that are on this stuff right with us. And we're kind of working side by side to understand, how we're implementing this stuff. So that being said, I just want to go through a few things about, for you guys today in terms of how you can actually use this, make it tangible, and really leave it at that for today. And I'll just give you some other things to continue the conversation. And maybe, I'm not sure, maybe we can do some Q&A because I'm going to try not to go too long here. And the cool thing is, I think Anthony's talking, it sounds like, in a few sessions from now, which would be great, because Anthony's, I've seen that related to the topic he's talking about, which really ties into AI at a whole nother level. So I think that's a great fit to kind of, as you move on to that, make sure you guys stay on for that talk with Anthony here coming up. So in terms of AI itself here, primarily what you're talking about is the thing that really created the whole buzz is ChatGPT. What ChatGPT does is it's not completely new. A lot of you may be familiar or may use Jasper. So we've used Jasper for a long time, which is essentially, a really user-effective tool to create content. Now, Jasper, the difference is you had to pay for it. It's I don't know, fairly reasonably priced, but ChatGPT is a little more powerful, and it's free right now, which is what's creating all the craziness and the buzz. Microsoft just made a couple $1 billion investment into it, and so there's this race with Microsoft, and then Google is coming behind with some other things as well too. So ChatGPT essentially is this tool, this website you can go to. A lot of you may have accounts. Some people are on the waiting list for it. What I've learned, I've talked about this or demoed this just a couple times, but when I've demoed this here, I've found that it's a little tricky to do live because it's, as a few times I've done it, it has like, it's really slow to work. But I'll pull it up in a minute here on screen here into my account, and we'll do a couple examples and see if we can get it to do a couple things for us live here. But more importantly, no, it's essentially based on, it's an AI tool based on really every word, the history of data, so to speak, up to about a year ago. So it's like the end of 2021. It's been updated. There's going to be this is right now, it's called ChatGPT 3.0. There's going to be 4.0 rumored to be coming out like in the next couple months, possibly. And as good as this thing is, this is like a little dot compared to 4.0 in terms of the amount of data it's based on. So it's crazy good. If you haven't played around with it, definitely encourage you to do so. But specifically, let's get into about in terms of Amazon itself and how you do it. It's truly amazing, and the type of responses you get from it and the type of things you can do for it. So I want to just give you guys a little bit of an idea today of some of the things you can do with it, and possibly take some questions as well too. So I put down here, by interacting with ChatGPT, Amazon sellers can ask questions, receive recommendations on various aspects of their business, including product optimization, advertising, customer engagement, and really way more. So let me see if I pull up. So a couple specific ways about using this. I'm going to pull this up, and then let's just do a live demo with ChatGPT and see how it goes here. So product optimization, advertising, customer engagement, niche identification. So product optimization, if you use the tool right now, then we've already played around and actually are implementing these things. You can optimize your product titles, descriptions, images. Actually, the image topic will be, again, Anthony is going to, I think, pretty sure we'll dive into some of this, which is really awesome. But essentially, you can very easily type in and write your listing, write your bullet points using ChatGPT. Just give it literally just tell it what to do. The other thing you do is you include the keywords, like say, ChatGPT, or you just say, write me 5 bullet points. I like to say at a 5th grade reading level. That's just a little tip that the 5th grade reading level has been shown to be like the ideal converting kind of grade level of the writing. So you can add that in there. And then, so write me 5 bullets at a 5th grade level for my.
Hey, Jamie, I hate to interrupt your flow,
yeah.
but we've had several people ask already if there's a way to make your slides bigger or expand your screen. I mean, it looks fine on my side, so maybe if you're watching this, maybe you can reduce Jamie's handsome face by sliding.
I'm on one of those giant screens. It's massive on my screen, but I think it should be that you can. And no problem, of course, jumping in anytime. You should be able to maximize the screen, I believe, right on the user side.
I hope so. So hopefully that helps.
Okay.
It looks like Jamie's doing all he can. All right, Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. And we can always give away to get you guys the slides too. I'll give you a way to share them, no problem as well too. The so on product optimization, literally, and again, we'll demo this here. You can ask it to write your bullet points, provide the keywords, and it will write them out there, and you'll be amazed at how the quality of the things. One tip with ChatGPT and using AI I found is don't use it as a 100% solution, but use it as like about, I'll call it 85%, 90% of the solution of everything. And then go in and make it your own, a little bit, add, your own personality, your little insight, because as powerful as it is, and it is really, really powerful, you do want to kind of create your uniqueness to it. And sometimes as good as it is, it could be off the mark a little bit, or it just wouldn't know a certain detail that you may have when using it. But in terms of advertising too, so it can provide all sorts of different insights on how to actually use your advertising platforms. There's already tools like Quartile has been promoting kind of AI over the last years. I think what you're going to see here, and this is not just for Amazon, but across the industry, Google Ads, a lot of the agencies and everything else, not to say they're going to go away, but the ability of, in terms of writing ads and optimizing your ads is, again, I don't want to say obsolete, but it's just completely changing, right? The days of paying a copywriter $1,000 a week to write your email, so to speak, is quickly changing, because you've got so much more power at your hands to do all these things. So, product optimization, advertising, customer engagement. And I'll go through a few more things here, but there's some really cool things you can do in terms of understanding your customer better, analyzing reviews, and so forth. And then And then just in terms of finding, product opportunities as well too. So I want to go through a couple examples. Let me see if I can do a little screen share, how to do this as well too. So before I jump in, let me do a screen share and see, let me stop my, oops. Let me switch over to my, I think probably, and maybe because also I've got like one of these triple wide screens. So sometimes that I don't know if that may make it a little trickier on the end users, but let me share Chat GPT so you can see it here. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my screen here, and
We have it.
Yep. Again, I'll at least make it a little bigger there, but this is Chat GPT. A lot of times you guys may log into it. It may say it's not available right now because of all the crazy usage. It's like insanity. I think they're spending like, I don't know, like close to $10 million in computing power, like per day or something insane to handle all of the usage and queries are going on through. But essentially, right here at the bottom, you can ask it to do whatever you want at the bottom here, and it will do it. I want to see if I can give it something simple to do. And I know sometimes when you're on with a bunch of people like this, because Sean and Seth bring a huge audience, it may not work, but let me say, write me 3 bullet points on benefits of a massage gun. Again, I would word this a little differently. All right, so instantaneously, just boom, boom, cranks it out, right? So that was very simple, very short, right? I may say something like, write me, I'm just gonna get a little more ambitious here. Write me a 3-month project plan to launch a new product on Amazon. Let's see what it does there. And off it will go, right? So the different ways you can use this are truly, truly endless, right? And as we go through, I'm going to give you a few more things about it. But the key around AI, and I learned this from some of like the top copywriters in the online space, like guys that are genius at this, some of them work for Jasper. One of them's the head of Jasper. And again, if I prompt it differently, it could give me much more difference. The key thing that I've realized in the last month or two of using this is it's all about the prompts. All right, so it's not about necessarily the output; it's about what you ask it to do. Right here. So right here, I said I said I mispronounced it. A 3-month project plan. So this is pretty short, but I can have it say, I can tell it to do it in. I can give it, hey, do it in 1,000 words. I can have it describe what level of detail I want. But again, the prompts is what it's getting. So what you ask these tools to do is kind of where the magic is kind of where the secret sauce is. So for Amazon, all the different ways you can do it are, pretty powerful. So let me grab one. Let me see if I pull one out of here.
Jamie, do you want me to interrupt you with questions or just wait till you're finished?
You can go interrupt with questions. You can pepper it in there. It's cool.
Okay. Saba had a good question. Says, is this plagiarism free? So if the next guy types in the exact same thing, will they get the exact same results?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it actually is not. Everything is completely unique. So it's being written every time is totally different. And anytime you do this too, you can hit refresh, or it's like regenerate, it's called. So this time I said, what strategies can ChatGPT recommend for improving my Amazon seller rating? It'll go off. And so, yeah, it's a good question. It's a concept that, if you have kids and kids are very quick to adapt to this. By the time I was playing around with it, my 3 boys had said, oh yeah, this is all over school, or use it. But they said, yeah, we run it through a plagiarism check and it comes out clean every time because it's actually being uniquely written every time you do this right here. Right. And so here's a prompt. What strategies can GPT recommend for improving my Amazon seller rating? Respond promptly to Amazon inquiries and feedback. Offer excellent customer service, continuously monitor improve fulfillment process. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right? If I said, write me a course on how to sell on Amazon, it would get to work. So pretty powerful stuff. You can see, I'm going to flip back to the last couple slides here and show you a couple more things here. And again, I don't know if you guys, it's back end. Again, my screen's massive, so hopefully it's
yes, we have the 20 prompts.
Yeah. All right, cool. So again, it's all about the prompts. So here's 20 I have for you. Again, I'm happy to give these to you. I've got a whole nother list because all you have to do with the prompts, like I just copied and paste, I just grabbed one of them out there. You just copy and paste these and let the thing do its work. And it's really, really powerful. So again, I don't want to go through these blow by blow in the interest of time, but again, here's some. How can Chat assist me in analyzing my competition on Amazon? What techniques can ChatGPT recommend for maximizing profitability? On and on. It's like you got like a super all-knowing, powerful kind of mentor and worker that can do all aspects of your business, or not all aspects, but make you much more efficient and powerful with everything that you're doing with your Amazon business. And again, in the interest of time, I won't go real deep on this stuff too, but one of the keys I think is not just using it simply for that prompt, but thinking about how you can combine it with other tools that you use. So here I had product research, and I put AMZ Scouts one tool, but there's Helium 10 is by far the most common. So let's say Helium 10, how you can leverage it with Helium 10. So basically, again, what we're doing is following our same process that we typically do in terms of keyword research, finding opportunities where there's a lot of demand for a keyword and there's not a lot of sellers. And then what we're doing is we're using these things to go deeper and really understand the customer, the opportunity, what other products they would have. So again, here's examples of prompts that I put up on screen. I'm happy to give all these things to you guys if you guys to play these things out by yourself. But you can just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you just can learn and research your market and your customer and your product idea so quickly. It's amazing. The other thing is content creation. I know like Sean and Seth with their company, right, in terms of really helping people, retarget their existing customers, it's really powerful stuff. So a lot of that in terms of the opportunity to re-engage with customers, a lot of that has to do with content. So the ability to do content off of Amazon is incredibly powerful. Like, so our virtual assistant, right, we had them create about, 50 blog posts in a couple hours, right, of all different topics. We had our, one of our guys, Matt, his virtual assistant created 30 posts for the Amazon post. Same thing, 30 Amazon posts in 1 hour, and that would typically take like a week, right? And so that's stuff you guys can do right now. And the concept I like is if you have a virtual assistant or a team member, is it's a way to give them a superpower. So if you have one person, two people, three people, suddenly you're enabling them, showing them how they can be 10 times more productive with things that literally a few months ago would have taken a lot longer. I talked about listing optimization already, right? Like write 5 bullet points, 500 bytes each for an Amazon listing selling a lacrosse massage ball. And then using these blah, blah, blah keywords, it's going to write out 5 like really highly converting ones. If you write an email, say, write me an email subject line with that will have a really high open rate, related to this topic.
Got a couple of questions here.
Sure.
If you're in the mood for it.
Totally,
This Q&A box is blowing up. So I guess I'm going to start at the most recent.
We'll probably shift to Q&A in a few seconds because
okay.
I know it's a short period, but I want to give at least a taste of it today. But yeah, absolutely.
So hold off.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So Justin seems to have some experience with this, and he says, I would recommend teaching the keywords and structure first, then ask it for certain parameters like length. It's best done in a multi-step process, keeping in mind it only remembers 8,500 of your teachings. Duncan says, are you able to leverage AI to improve product listings like titles and bullets based on recently converting keywords? Justin also adds that it's like a child you have to teach, and the best part is that it grows up really fast and focused. I love it. There's a PPC question, which we'll save. Everyone's reporting the same experience I have, that chat.openai.com, it's impossible to get in, but you can have it remind you via email when it's available for you.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I got some of the chat, so I see some of the questions. Okay. Sorry,
but everyone wants those prompts, Jamie. So if you can have Joey maybe paste those in, we'll get those out distributed to everyone.
Yeah. So I love Justin's point. So first of all, what I like about Justin's things is if anyone thinks they're, in the online marketing world, if anyone comes at you and becomes the AI guru, right? I would say, they're full of it, right? So it's what this is about is like when we first built our business, we had my 2 partners, we got together and just started figuring stuff out, and we started building. And so what's cool now, I've learned over the years, like collaborate with more people. We're really still a small group, and let's kind of win together and help each other out. That's what, I've loved working with Seth and Sean the last year, because collaborating on this stuff, there's so much to figure out. So Justin, I love what you're recommending. It makes total sense. I think the point is some of the stuff's going to evolve without question, it's going to evolve in a couple months. And really, I think it's about trying to work together and just kind of collaborating on some of the ways you can do these things. But yeah, some of the questions around like, hey, can you have it do, optimize your listing? And can you do this? 100% you can. To Justin's comment, and also my point earlier too, just, give it the sniff test and look at it. Like the keyword research, certainly you want to incorporate your keyword research into any kind of like have it include that into the content that it writes for you as well too. Let me just see here. So it's like a chat. I can see. I like that. I already used Jasper. Yeah. So question about Jasper. It's a good question. I had that same question. So the feedback I've gotten is some people, Jasper does a lot of cool things. And ChatGPT is not the only thing. There's also some other tools like in terms of, and I think Anthony will probably talk about some of these other tools, but there's probably like 20 other really cool AI tools. And again, I can get some of you guys that stuff separately as well too. But Joey says Jamie doesn't slide. I put the prompt. Let's figure out how we can get the prompts to everyone. Yeah, so we will actually, I have a simple way to do it, because I did actually, what I did was, and I think you guys said it, Sean, you guys were good with it. I don't have anything, it's nothing to sell. I mean, what we are doing is on this topic is we are doing, we're going to do about a 4-week work through with this. Kind of the way I said we built our Amazon business initially. It's kind of as I said, this is a huge opportunity in terms of it's moving quickly, and you can kind of figure it out on your own, or you can kind of get together with some other people and collaborate on it. So we are doing that. There's nothing to buy here. It's just a wait list, but I wanted to at least offer that. I'm happy to give you the prompts, all the prompts from the slides. Or I'll just send you the slides. I can also send them to Sean and Seth. But if this URL and I think the QR code should work, we'll put you on the wait list for that. But we are going to do like a 4-week deep dive around these topics. We're going to do a Discord group. Some of the AI imaging tools, like how to create some of the really cool images, it actually works through Discord if you're familiar with Discord at all. And we're going to do really just like a 4-week intensive to help people. And the thing is, we don't know how much this is going to move the needle. We've seen some really good results with our team members already. But what we're going to do is put together all our findings and work together with a group of people to do all this. And we're going to have some homework for people on how we're going to leverage this, and we're going to share. And I'm actually doing stuff with some of these guys in the real estate industry that are doing this AI stuff, because there's so much overlap. Like, people are literally building new businesses in like days. Like, the real estate guys are launching like pest control businesses. They talked at the beginning of the call, like, you never know other industries, because they can build whole new websites in like hours. Like, they can build all the content, and then they're handing it to their web developer to finish it up. So it is kind of crazy exciting what's going on with it. So we're basically going to work with a small group of people, collaborate with you guys and share. And then we'll come back, in about 6 months and share everything that we've kind of built. But, we are AMZ insiders, so we kind of keep our little insiders group to really mastermind around this stuff. And like people like Justin and people have ideas. It's not about being like a genius and guru. It's really about trying these things out and using them for real ways. And then coming back and share, like, one of our guys, Matt, when he's like, yeah, my VA just did 30 Amazon posts for us in an hour. I'm like, boom, let's add that to the workflow. Let's, and on and on and on. It can add up quick. So with that, I know there's other speakers. I don't know if there's where we're at time wise, if we should end it there, or if there's time for any more questions, but wanted to hopefully give you guys a taste of where we're at with this. Again, there's other people working on it, but for us, my approach is to get other minds. And we're not just working with people in the Amazon industry, but really across the spectrum of some of the better minds that are working on the same problem as well.
Really cool stuff, Jamie. You shed the light on this in a unique way that I haven't even thought of yet. So I love the prompts. Guys, go to amzinsiders.com/special offer, or scan the QR code on the screen and get on Jamie's wait list, because they're working on some things that are cutting edge. And I highly recommend that you join the party over there. Jamie, thanks for taking the time out to share today. Anthony, you're next here, so get your mic ready. I've already upgraded you to panelist. So if anybody has any questions for Jamie, right now is the time to post those in chat, and then we're going to move on to Anthony. So let's see if we have any more questions here.
Yeah, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. It was really good to have you.
Appreciate it.
How's Anthony today?
Hey, everyone. What's going on? Good to see everyone.
Hey,
another day
Anthony.
in paradise, man. I'm in the middle of a snowstorm in central Indiana here.
I'm in Chicago right now. It's coming down hard.
That is good. Anthony, welcome to the monthly masterclass. So just a little history on yourself. We met Anthony some time ago now, and you work with Data Dive, which and you do a lot of other things as well. But your right arm is kind of stuck into Data Dive right now, right? So you have access to so many different data points from tons of sellers, and you get to see it from a really good angle that a lot of people don't really have that advantage to. So I'm really excited to let you dig into what you're seeing out there today as far as how to optimize images for conversion. And then I know you're going to talk about some of the Data Dive stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. Is it okay if I start sharing the screen?
Let's do it.
All right.
Nice.
So, and I've got like 30 minutes to get through this, right? So it's
Yes.
pretty condensed. Okay, cool. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today, I'm not really going to talk about Data Dive very much. I'm sure everyone's kind of heard of it. The general gist. If you're not using it yet, we'll talk about that in the end. Today, though, what I'm going to talk about is visual optimization and kind of image testing. Some of the things that I've been working on over the past few years. We just held a conference in Orlando where we had a workshop and taught some of these things. And I guess what I'll say, the biggest thing that I'm seeing from working at Data Dive is that we're quickly figuring out search on Amazon. I think in like another year, 2 years, it's going to be pretty well dominated by the first 3 to 5 competitors in a niche, and it's going to be increasingly difficult to win on Amazon. The people who will win in the end are going to be the people who win on the performance of their listing, on the actual conversion. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today, some of the ways that you can start to quantify what's going on in the image gallery. I'm going to talk a little bit about AI as well in the end. I think there's some potential there, but let's just jump in. I'm not going to spend too much time going through my background. I'm just going to go through this in like 20 seconds, but I started my career, I worked at Amazon, ended up leaving Amazon, moved out to the Philippines and ran a creative agency called Virtuous Graphics. We grew that business from like 8 to 30 full-time creatives. We sold that agency in 2019. And then I went and joined PPP, helped grow that company for 2 years, got to see a lot of practical applications of optimizing image galleries for some of the biggest sellers, some of the biggest aggregators out there. Got to do trainings with teams, see what was working, what didn't work. And then after growing PPP, a lot of you might know me from that. You've probably seen me over the past year rather, working at Data Dive. So Data Dive and Seller Systems, and kind of growing that. Now, the really cool thing about switching over for me from the fully creative side over into getting into Data Dive is I feel like I've had a very good understanding and a very comprehensive understanding of how to build out content, the visual side of the listing. But it wasn't until recently, all the brands where I sold, we had other people that were managing search and PPC. And so it's been really interesting over the past year to really dive into this at a detailed level. And I guess the biggest thing that I'll say that I'm seeing is that Amazon, when it really comes down to it, is just a giant math equation. It's very, very complicated, but it's also very, very straightforward. And there's all of these little tiny levers that you can pull throughout your business. Content is a lever, PPC is a lever, post-purchase marketing is a lever. Some of these levers you can pull down far, some of them you can pull down really far. Some sellers don't even have access or aren't using all the levers that they can. I think the real trick that I've learned is that when you can kind of see this bigger picture overall, figure out what your levers are, how far your levers are pulled down, kind of demystifies all this selling on Amazon, and you can quickly diagnose where there's issues. And yeah, so that is kind of a little bit about me, a little bit about my background. What I'm going to spend time going over today, I'm going to go through some essential frameworks and best practices, and then wrap up with future considerations on where I think content is going. In terms of essential framework, the reason that I wanted to put this presentation together, I've been in this industry for almost 5 years now, and everyone would always ask me the same question at conferences, wherever, sending emails, Facebook, and they'd say, "Hey, Anthony, can you take a look at my listing? Can you let me know what I'm doing right? What am I doing wrong? What do I got to do better?" And the thing is that with this, it's just really not practical. It's not scalable. And so I put together this presentation. This has been an evolution in this presentation over years. Many changes have been made. And basically what I try to do is what's working, what's not working, and how can I give really good advice that anyone is going to be able to apply to their own listings and actually make them much better. Really important to know, and kind of why I wanted to show my background earlier is, a lot of people come to me and they say, "Hey, Anthony, you're the visuals guy. Like, you're a genius when it comes to visuals." And kind of just like Jamie was saying a few minutes ago, like, I don't know really any of this stuff at all. Everything that I've learned over the past few years has all just been pattern recognition, seeing what works. I still can't shoot a camera off of manual mode. I do not know how to use Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. But if you see this stuff enough, if you kind of train your brain to identify what works and what doesn't, you're going to find that this creativity, just like we're seeing with AI, this creativity, all this output, it's not magic. It's just a really, really complicated thing that looks like magic. But when you kind of break it down, you can see it's a little more straightforward. And one of the most important parts about understanding this is understanding how our brain works and how our brain interprets visuals. And so this is not an exaggeration. The human brain is quite literally a graphics processor, right? Our eyeballs, every second that they're open, our brain is processing visual signals and deciding how it wants to interact with the world. 90% of all of the information that's going through the brain is visual. And this is happening really, really fast. The human brain is gonna process an image 70,000 times faster than text. And so, like, why is this important? Well, when someone is actually taking the time to look at your Amazon listing, you have a direct way to communicate directly with the brain. This is why I'll sometimes call this hacking the brain, right? If someone's eyeballs are open and they're looking at your listing, you have key moments and key opportunities to convince them to go and actually buy your product. And the really good thing about selling on Amazon is that the vast majority of time, you don't have to actually do very much work to get them to add a product to the cart to buy. In fact, their inclination is to go and buy a product. And the stat here, and this is true as well, the average conversion rate for a prime shopper is 74%. You might be looking at that and you might be saying, well, the conversion rates on my listing aren't 74%. Well, that's true, right? But what it's saying is that not necessarily that someone is going to buy, if someone's shopping for a red spatula, that they're going to buy your red spatula. But if they come to the platform looking for a red spatula, on average, 74% of the time, they're going to buy a red spatula. So the question is, if we already have this really, really strong buyer intent, right? What do we have to do to just like check off the boxes in their brain to move them from, I know I need to buy this product. This is the product I'm going to buy. Let me go and add it to the cart. So quick premise there, right? Someone's looking at the listing. We have this awesome opportunity to work, communicate directly with their brain. But we have usually kind of an incorrect expectation of what really happens here. We have this thought that when someone's shopping online, okay, 74% average conversion rate for a prime shopper, they've got their card out, smile on their face, and they're ready to buy the product, like this lady on the left-hand side. But the reality is quite different, right? Someone wants to buy the product, they will buy the product. But the reality is when they're shopping, they're usually distracted. So they've got the kids running around in the background, phones going off, dogs barking, crazy year with everything going on in the world. So what we have to do is we have to take them out of that distracted environment. We have to pull them out, and we have to communicate very quickly and efficiently. And the reason we have to communicate very quickly and efficiently is because we have a very limited amount of space to do this communication with our customer. And it's primarily through the image gallery, through the A+, and then as well through video. And so just think of it like this, right? If your image gallery is 6 image slots that you can have an image, your main image is out, right? That doesn't help you with conversion. It helps you with clicks. It helps getting people from that page of search results into your listing. But the main image is generally out from a conversion tool, right? And so if you think you have 5 additional images in your gallery, if image number 2 and image number 3 is not effective, if it's not doing a good job of helping that customer to say, this is the red spatula you need to buy, you've suddenly wasted half of those opportunities, half of those shots to go and communicate and get your customer to buy something.
Hey, Anthony, are you not in presenter mode on purpose?
Are you not seeing any of these slides?
Oh, we're seeing the slides, but we're seeing it in editor mode. You need to click slideshow there at the top to actually play.
It's totally full screen on mine. Let's see.
That's weird. Yeah, we're seeing maybe you have more than one screen.
Just one screen.
Anthony, on the right hand side at the top. Yep.
It says slideshow. If you click that, it'll actually play. Yeah, right there.
Is it looking the same?
Yeah, it's looking the same. For some reason, not playing. I mean, we can still see it, but it's just like I got presenter notes and all that. Well, go ahead. I'm just trying to help a brother out.
No, it's so strange because on my end, let me stop sharing and see if that resets it.
I always see is your handsome face.
Okay, let me try this.
It is snowing out there. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's really coming down. Sorry about that. I hope
that's all right.
Is it any different?
Yes, now it's perfect. Continue, my friend.
Okay. So hopefully, luckily we weren't showing too much in terms of visuals there. Hopefully everyone could see that. Let me just make sure we're doing.
Well, you had those honeymoon pictures off to the right there. Hope you didn't do that on purpose, did you?
I don't think so. Can you still hear me? Still here?
Yes, you're good. I'm just messing with you, man.
Okay.
It's all good. Tailor your listing. That's what we have. That's the slide. Looks beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, I see this thing showing up as Zoom quit, but I guess that's not actually happening. We're still here.
We're all good.
Okay.
Live and well, loud and clear. Now we have just your camera again.
Okay. Here we go. We're gonna make this happen. Are we good now? Can we see the screen?
Yes, 100%. You're good.
All right. Well, let's keep rolling here. So I'm gonna spend extra attention focusing on images in position 2 and 3. I think that these are going to be the most viewed images in the gallery. So that's really where you're going to want to focus. Now, Amazon doesn't give us this data, but you can imagine that there's going to be some drop off from the main image to the final image in your gallery. And so what I really want to try to do, right, if I'm thinking that everyone's going to see the main image, some people are going to see image 2. By the time I get to image number 6, it's going to be even less. I want to try to bump this line over. I want to try to make my image gallery as engaging as possible, but also as fast to understand as possible so that people can, they're not spending a lot of time trying to understand what each image means. They're just like image number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they can get through the whole gallery very quick. But at every point in the image gallery, right, they're going away with something meaningful that's going to convince them this is the product that I want to be buying, right? Really want to try to get everyone all the way through the image gallery. And so kind of the best, just again, overall framework for how this works is you got to think, as a seller, we have this laundry list of all these things that we could say about our product, right? Then you got to think somewhere in the middle. Now there's all these things we could say about the product, but here are the things that the shopper actually needs to know, the most important ones that they need to know before they buy the product. And then you have an even smaller list on the right-hand side of what do you actually have space to show on the listing. And that's going to be the smallest, right? We can't put unlimited images in the gallery, can't have unlimited space in the A+. And so what I'm doing when I'm creating these galleries is I'm probably actually going and creating infographics or images for everything that the shopper needs to know. And then over time, again, I'm only going to be able to fit a subset of that into what's actually shown on the listing. I'm going to be testing those. I'm going to be trying different orders. I'm going to be trying different images. And eventually, after enough time, I'm going to be able to see how does the conversion rate compare over time and see what's actually effective there. So the last thing that I'm going to get into is going through talking about image scoring. And basically what this all came out of is I spent about a quarter working with a VA, going through and analyzing the image galleries of 500. It was actually more than 500 top performing Amazon accounts. And basically, after looking at enough of these images, I started to group these images into different clusters by order and by type. And basically what we saw is that, for main images, there's a very finite number of image potential possibilities that you're going to see on Amazon, right? So if you're ever thinking about, hey, I want to test an alternate version of my main image, what should I do? Just come here and look on this matrix, share this with your graphic designer and say, hey, go try to make me 3 to 5 different variations that we can test over the next, half of a year. One that's showing the product with packaging, one that's like a lifestyle main image, one that's showing what's included. Try a few of these different variations and go and see what's actually going to perform at the end of the day. For main images, it's kind of really just don't know, right? Bright pops of color, adding in more context in terms of how the product works seems to be strong, but you're never really going to know until you run through and actually test. Now, with secondary images, these are actually going to be what carries the conversion, unit session percentage, the performance of your listing, right? The main image is really just to get people into the listing. What's going to sell them are actually the secondary images. And when we went through that analysis on those top 500 Amazon accounts, what we found is that the vast majority of images on the Amazon platform, something like more than 70% of the images, fell into one of these 16 categories here. And so, again, what you really want to try to do is with each image, you want to try to think like, how can I have the best possible version of this graphic? And I'm going to show you in a few minutes at the end of this, kind of how you use data dive to analyze these image galleries at scale. But if you're selling a product, like somewhere in the competitor image galleries, if there's multiple points on your product that you want to highlight, you're going to see a product anatomy graphic, or you're going to see a how-to, or you're going to see an applications like, hey, this water bottle can be used, for hiking, for cycling, for whatever it might be. You're going to see the same kind of things over and over and over again. And so kind of what I really like to try to do is to try to think of like, does the image that I have, right, the biggest thing that's, we're talking about that shopper interacting in that very distracted environment. What we really want to make sure is that if we have an image in our gallery, that the purpose of that image is really, really clear. That if someone looks at it, you could show this image to 10 different people, and at least 70 or 80% of the people are going to agree that, okay, I think that the purpose of this image actually does this thing, right? Versus the purpose of that being ambiguous. So this is where I came up with this scoring system. I've been kind of using this for almost 2 years now. And basically what this comes down from is, again, looking at a lot of different listings and trying to think of like, okay, if I'm telling someone that this image is bad, along what context, what lines is this image bad? How could it be improved? And the biggest thing that I've seen, and what I've really believed, there's not a metric to quantify this yet, but I think in the next year, 2 years, we're going to actually be able to have a metric that can quantify this. As I think that the name of the game when it comes down to conversion on Amazon is speed of comprehension by the brain, right? If someone is looking at your image in the gallery, what percentage of people are going to understand and absorb the concept in image number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6? And if they get through that gallery, does what the purpose of that image is actually lead them to check these boxes in their brain and lead to a buying action? And so that's where this scoring system comes from. It's a 3-point scoring system with the most important things being at the top. Also, the biggest issues I see with images, right, tend to be here up at the top. And so first and foremost is going through your image gallery. Number 1, do you understand the purpose of the image, right? Is it really, really clear? Number 2 is, are all of the concepts within the image related and cohesive? And then number 3, the least important rather, is the image visually impressive? And the reason that I put this one furthest down on the list is because this is why you'll see, some sellers, often Chinese sellers, that can have very bad looking listings. They don't look visually impressive at all. But if someone can understand what the purpose of the image is, it doesn't necessarily need to look good. Something looking good is really just icing on the cake. And all these other things really should happen beforehand. So if I was going through, and Data Dive makes this really easy to look and try to find multiple copies, same concept of the image, but obviously different sellers are going to have different images. All 3 of these images are trying to accomplish the exact same thing. And I could look and I can say, okay, this is good, better, and best. But this is why I came up with the scoring system. It's to kind of give some support as to why this image on the right-hand side is better than this image on the left-hand side. And so just to walk through this really quick, right, all 3 of these images are trying to accomplish the exact same thing. They're trying to show you that, hey, this neck pillow, you can have your neck to the side, to the front, in some kind of combination of the position. That's it. That's the only purpose of this image, right? Someone's buying this product. They know that it's supposed to do this. They just need confirmation in their brain that, hey, this pillow, I can support multiple neck positions. And so this first one, right, like I understand what the purpose of this image is, but then they have all of this other text, all this other information here, which is really just extraneous. It's kind of distracting. It's kind of confusing. Here it's trying to show me like something about the cushion. It's trying to show me something about the materials that's unrelated, not cohesive. The only thing that's going to do is potentially distract someone from what the point of this image actually is. So this one gets 1, but not 3 points if I was scoring it. This one in the middle here is a little bit better, right? Because it's clear, okay, 3 different positions for the head, right? Is everything related and cohesive? Yep, it's showing me the product, showing me 360. It's got some arrows. But is it visually impressive? Like, I don't know. I think it could definitely be better, especially if I'm comparing it to this. But really the focal point, again, of this image is the different head positions. So the product being much larger than the 3 head positions, this one is the most simplistic, right? I understand the purpose really clear. Everything is related, right? Showing me the 3 head positions. And is it visually impressive? I think this looks really clean. It looks really good. And so that's going to get 3 points. Now, when you're going through and you're scoring, you can give half points, right? This is really just subjective. But if you were going to go through and say, okay, for the first 10 competitors that I'm, my top 10 competitors, go through and actually apply this system, score their image galleries, go through and score your own image galleries. You're going to see a distribution, right? When you look at those things that you think, hey, this is a really, really good image, this is a strong image, these are the concepts that you want to take, right? You want to apply them to your own listing. Yeah, everything also, I didn't come up with something called the 5-second test, right? I didn't make this up, but basically the concept is like, if you show someone an image in your gallery, right, let them look at it, look at the product for 5 seconds, look at the image rather for 5 seconds, and then you take that image away. And then you would ask that person, hey, what was the purpose of that image? If what they're telling you is different from what your intended purpose of that image is, most likely that is going to be lost on Amazon as well when someone who has no knowledge of the product is shopping in a distracted environment. And again, like, I don't think there's any way that we can test this now. We're working on some different ways that we can test this now, but I think speed of comprehension is going to be the name of the game when it comes to calculating a correlation between conversion rate. Because again, right, like if someone doesn't understand image number 2 and image number 4 in your gallery, you've literally lost out on like 25% of the opportunities to convince them your product is the right one, right? And when people are confused, when people are distracted, they don't try to figure things out, they bounce, they go to another listing that does a better job of explaining that. So like with these 3 images here, again, this is like an add-on to that scoring system. Is I went and asked my sister for this cooling towel. Like, I had what I thought my goal of the image was. I asked her, hey, what do you think the goal of this image is? This one passed, right? It's talking about advanced materials. This one here in the middle failed because what my goal was is to show that, hey, there's all these different applications of how you can use this cooling towel if you're sick, if you're working out, like all these other things. And she got the takeaway from it in just 5 seconds is that, hey, this product is perfect for using outdoors, right? So again, fail, right? There's like 1/6 of the image gallery. Most likely people are not going to get it. And so you can do this with an internal team. I know I'm like really rolling through this very quickly. You can run through this with an internal team. Just try to get like 5 to 10 non-creative members of your internal team. And then basically, you're going to go through and have a slides ready to go where you're going to flash up on the screen for 5 seconds. And 5 seconds goes really quick, right? Like, we think it's long, but it goes really quick if you count it out. So you'd have a few image galleries ready to go. You'd show them the image for 5 seconds, flip it to a blank screen, and then they type into a Google form what they thought the purpose of that image was. And then you're going to repeat that for the whole image gallery, potentially multiple image galleries. And then you're just going to do some math, right? Like, okay, I read the responses. If less than 70% of the people, right, are matching what your goal is, it's probably not going to be good for Amazon. If you want to scale that up with something like PickFu and you want to get responses from like 15 or 50 people, again, just go through and see, like, if less than 70% of the responses do not match what your intended goal for the image is, if that speed of comprehension is not there, all that's happening is you're missing out on opportunities to communicate directly with that customer's brain on Amazon. So guys, I don't know if, I know we said 30 minutes. I don't really need extra time in the end to give any kind of offer. So if there is extra time, I'd love to go through this future considerations. But if I only have like 5 minutes in total left, like, just let me know how much time, or if there's time for questions or whatnot.
Yeah, let me take a look here, Anthony. So we had a couple questions. First and foremost, they were asking about if we could have access to the slide deck. So if you don't mind sharing that, I'll share that out with everybody. Secondly, Ryan says, wasn't clear on what were the needs for the gallery images. Any commentary on that?
I'm not sure I understand needs for the gallery images, like what should go in the image gallery, or maybe he can follow up.
Yeah, so maybe Ryan, you can clarify for us. And then Ryan says, I thought that there was a slide on gallery images. Maybe, Anthony.
I think I had this one, which is showing like a bunch of different types, some of the more common types of images in the gallery.
Okay.
Maybe that helps. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Randall says, very helpful to focus and improve listings. Thank you. And then Owen says, do you offer any image creation services?
I don't. I haven't done that for a while since the agency. There's some good ones out there. I would just like there's a lot of agencies. Just try to make sure that the agency you're working with really understands Amazon. But there's plenty out there, and they'll do good work, as well as like getting an in-house team. You know, it's really more about, I think, if you have like a good direction for what you want in those images, and you're thinking about the purpose of those images, then it won't really matter which agency you work with, or it won't matter so much, because you're giving them a lot more direction on, this is exactly what I want to see, and this is what the image is supposed to accomplish. There will be a lot of people that'll sell you beautiful work, but it won't necessarily convert.
All right. Maria says, let's do future considerations. So Anthony, we do have like a couple minutes here. So if you can keep it under 5 minutes, then we can stay close to schedule.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to jump into this really quick because this is the part I'm most excited about. And I gave this for the first time at Billion Dollar Seller Summit almost a year ago, talking about future considerations. And so basically the whole point of this future consideration slide is, if we look at, this is a screenshot of Data Dive, but if we look at, this is like Garcinia Cambogia, a very competitive category. This is the organic ranking for like more than 150 keywords. And you're seeing this seller here, organic rank of 1. This is like 3s and 5s. What I think we're going to come up to like maybe a year from now is that for most categories, the competitive ones, we're going to see straight 1s, straight 2s, straight 3s, straight 4s, straight 5s with some variation in between. Because at the end of the day, selling on Amazon is a big math equation, and tools like Data Dive are helping people solve that math equation. Like, it's finite, it's going to be solved. And so the final frontier of how winning is going to happen on Amazon search, it's going to be solved in the next year, the next 2 years. Like, that's my prediction. Content is going to be that final frontier. Now, the thing with data, the reason it gets solved a lot faster is because it's fast. Like, anyone can go and write in a new title with just a keyboard, right? You can train anyone to do that. Content, though, is expensive, right? To go and get it done. Someone was just asking about who can do photos. It's expensive and it's time consuming. What I think is going to be the potential, the future, is programs like OpenAI, like DALL-E, like Midjourney. And it's really cool to see a bunch of other people all getting in on this, because, don't sleep on this stuff. It really is the future, and it's definitely not perfect yet, but it's getting there. And so if you haven't started playing around with either of these programs yet, I would encourage you to do so. What was really interesting for me is I was putting together, some prompts. This is literally a year ago, a photo from behind, a mother using a red spatula. I love using the red spatula example to cook pancakes in the kitchen. And you can see, like, we get pretty good outputs right off the bat. I can switch it to being, anyway, I'm not going to go into this. This is like eye candy stuff. But the point of this is, like, I used to own an agency, right? And to go and accomplish, this is 2 children sitting on a tropical beach next to a blue cooler. Like, if we were going to go and do this as an agency, we're talking like, I don't know, $1,000 to $2,000 in costs just to accomplish shots like this. What's really interesting is that for scene building, I'm saying, hey, this is on a tropical beach, right? I can switch it to at a soccer game, at a picnic. There's a lot of potential here. Now, things like DALL-E are not going to do faces correctly, but it's not because AI in general doesn't do faces correctly. DALL-E messes them up, but if you go to thispersondoesnotexist.com, you'll get unlimited, beautiful, perfect looking faces. And so what you got to remember about programs like DALL-E, anyone who's like telling you that these programs are going to solve everything now and they're going to kill these creative jobs, it's just not true. And the biggest reason it's not true is because DALL-E was trained on art, right? It wasn't trained on Amazon image data. So it's really good at making like pop art, Renaissance oil, Art Deco, all these other different art styles, even a marble sculpture. But that's kind of what I'm looking at next. Is I showed you these 16 different image categories. The things that you're seeing on Amazon over and over again, it's the same kind of stuff over and over. And so learn about how this prompt engineering works. Try to play around with this a little bit, but do know that sometime in the future, in the next year, 2 years, I expect someone to come out with a generative image creator that is going to fix a lot of the problems, but it's going to be centered around Amazon. So I would just keep an eye out for that. What you can use these things for right now, it's not going to replace your image gallery, but what you can do this for is for concepting and mood board creation. Really, really helpful to get concepts that you can send to a designers, and also to get creative inspiration. The other few tips I have if you're using DALL-E is like it showed earlier, faces are going to get messed up. You can go and correct that if you put in the prompt a photo from behind. Actually quite good. Really good for building scenes. So not actually like getting that product into the environment, but the scene around the product, a custom scene is really good. And then flat lay shots also work really, really well, or at least are getting better. So that's what I've got there. I'm not going to share too much more. Yeah.
Well, Anthony, that was really good. You have tons of good feedback. A lot of people are giving you love in the chat box. Denise says, awesome. Very helpful to focus on improving listings. And then people are asking you about services that you don't offer. So that's always a good sign, right?
I don't offer any services, but like Data Dive, I'm sure everyone's heard of it. It's really complicated. It's not easy to use. I love it for analyzing image galleries at scale. Like, I can go and see image order, image type, all in one spot. No services with Data Dive, but there's plenty of other service providers and agencies that they'll get you set up.
All right, Anthony, thank you so much for coming on to the monthly masterclass, man. Really appreciate you. And then if you don't mind, send over your slides and we'll share them with everyone.
Sounds good. I'll get those ready.
Thanks, Anthony.
All right. See you later.
All right, bye. So let's welcome to the show our next guest speaker here. We have Sebastian. So Sebastian, let's go ahead and get you all set up here. So Sebastian, I was expecting Yulia, but I've got the next best thing, right?
That is, well, that's what I usually say. She's the better half. I'm the worse half. So I think, yeah, you
Well,
get the worse half, but I try my best.
So we're excited to have you here today to talk about sourcing and a lot of the supply chain kind of mess that the world has been in, and what you guys are seeing out there. I know you guys are experts in the space, so I won't waste too much time, and I'll let you jump right into it, Sebastian.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. As you see, I'm quite proud. Got the own sweater today again. We also been doing some sourcing for ourselves as well. So got to try it out, got to see how it fits, and also for our own other brands. We're not only doing sourcing, but we also are Amazon sellers ourselves and have 2 brands. And yeah, the upgrades I've seen right now from our sweaters that we're doing as merch is love it. So fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm wearing this now on top of the slide on the side.
You got it all. So
Yeah,
Sebastian, do you have any?
yeah.
Do you want to do a screen share and slides, or if you go ahead and hit that button, hopefully that you'll have the ability to do so. Just want to make sure we get this all the technical details worked out, because for a while Anthony's slides weren't sharing.
Can you see my slide right now?
Yes.
Don't worry, I'm not going to bombard you with all of them.
No, you're fine.
If I look at the other direction, it's just that the screen is here.
All right, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, target was to say, we as a sourcing company ourselves, we want to give away usually the secrets of how is sourcing done, how can you find suppliers not only in China, but also outside of China, and what are some reasons why did so many people in the last year switch away from China into other countries, and where could you find suppliers? What are some steps you should take on your own as well when you do the sourcing yourselves? How can you check with the suppliers, how to check them, and so on and so on. To give you a bit of a background, again, 2 brands, 2 of our own brands that we have since 2014. I started my first one. Back then we used to live in China, so I was right at the source. And my better half was not here. I have to excuse Julia. We just came back from an Indonesia sourcing trip, and she caught something, I caught something, but I'm still looking better compared to her at the moment, health-wise. And yeah, besides the 2 brands, we have the Signify global product sourcing. We're sourcing in China, but of course also, not of course, but also in all of the other countries of the world. And I think we have a few specialties in there, but my target right now is really to bring some advantages and to say, when a lot of you are sourcing in China, why also not considering other countries? So what has happened over the last 2 years is mostly that, of course, the sellers started saying like, oh my God, the shipping prices. We remember there were times 19K, 20K for a single container. We had super long shipping times, 13, 14 weeks. We had production delays because the companies were closed. The factories were closed due to COVID. And so many people are already switched away and said, I need a help for my supply chain, and switch away to another country. For US sellers, mostly, of course, also into Mexico. Mexico is a very good country also to source from. We're doing a lot of work there as well. But at the same time, one of the things, of course, that happened with the Trump government, we call them the Trump tariffs, the import anti-dumping taxes on Chinese goods. So in some of our customers, they had 27% or even higher import tariffs or anti-dumping tariffs. And we're super happy when we switch them away, not only to Mexico, but for example, to Vietnam. And surprisingly, sometimes you can even find products still cheaper there. The reason why and why not China, I mean, of course, most of you are sourcing in China. You will very likely find a manufacturer in there. You may have very cheap production, low MOQ, and all the things that we, of course, know from China. And yes, best quality is literally possible there. I guess most of you as well know. And I could say this from own experience. I myself was an expat to China. I'm a German electrical engineer and was 12 years before my e-commerce career in electrical engineering, industrial automation. And ABB there had about 20,000 employees, world market leader in industrial automation. While at the same time, of course, in our house, we had people working for Audi, developing the new entertainment systems, all A4L, A6L, A8L, they're all produced in China. Biggest Mercedes engines as well produced in China, so you know you can get good quality. Issues were, as mentioned, freight costs, imports, and so on. And of course, copycats you find there as well. But one of the things that I miss actually to hear from many sellers is that besides the cost, the shipping time, and so on, is the marketing. You may have USPs, which many of sellers actually don't really think about them yet. It's just about time and money. But we have customers in the US, for example, who literally print on the products not made in China. By the way, if you also want to steer away a little bit from using the word China, PRC, if you need to put it on there, made in PRC, People's Republic of China, is actually the official term, and not many customers may actually know that, especially over here in Germany. If they say PRC, they don't think about China. But what comes from when you start sourcing outside of China? And the question is it possible to do a lot of products in there as well? Yes, many products. Besides what I would say on my own, camera covers, small plastic products that are being spit out in thousands of units per hour. That may not necessarily be a product to source outside of China as well. Electronics. Rest of them, rest assured, many of the products you can literally find in many other countries. Have lower shipping costs, of course, if the distance, for example, from Mexico into the US or Turkey to Europe, in Germany, it could be there, whatever, in 2 days. You load the products, the container onto a truck, and it's going to be there in 2 days, plus, of course, a lot cheaper. You will not have as many copycats as it's not spreading that fast. You may advertise with more sustainability, with, not made in China, bring other USPs in there. The difference you would definitely see is that it will take a bit longer to get proposals from the producers. First of all, you may not find them as easily as possible, or as easily as you may find them in China, most of the time, of course, through Alibaba or closer networks. But you would Google a lot more, and then that's coming in one of the other slides. But China really understood how to do sales, and they give service in sales, meaning they're constantly there. They're answering day and night. They're answering on Sundays. They're answering Chinese New Year. I usually say it's like the question of the answer, so the quality of the answer, it's a different topic, but at least they show I want to sell, I'm hungry. While many of them in Europe, in Mexico, or also other Asian countries, they're not always that far yet. And it may happen that you need to contact them 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, sometimes 7 times until you get a proposal. So patience is one of the things you would definitely need outside. Language barriers is another thing, especially when you go to Europe, you would need to speak quite a few languages in order to cover all the markets. But again, there's also external help. Let me switch over from those away to say what kind of products can you actually source outside. And if you see now, the list that is on here is, well, pretty much any of the products that you're having in the Amazon categories can very well be produced outside of China as well. Electronics, for sure, as well in Vietnam, Taiwan, of course. And but other than that, electronics most likely would be for Amazon sales, for e-commerce sales, mostly produced in the Asian countries. Rest, here's another example of where could you find woods. Of course, currently with the Russian-Ukraine war, that's a little bit difficult to get from that region, but there are many other places, if you just think about it, where is a lot of forest. You would see, of course, many other countries as well, Poland, Czech Republic. I mostly have European examples on here as well. But if you also look into other countries of Asia, you would see that bamboo can also come from other countries. Textile may come from Bangladesh, from India, Pakistan, of course, as well. Metals, cosmetics, South Korea, Japan, we've done quite a lot. China is, of course, also picking up, but the people would, of course, react to things being produced in China when it comes to cosmetics. I'll jump through those things because my target would really be to say, where can you find suppliers? If you look in yourself into doing the sourcing on your own, and I usually suggest as well that the first times when you do some sourcing, go through it, learn what it takes. I think as many as the coaches, of course, say, go through the basic processes at least once or twice or 3 times yourselves. So when you outsource this to somebody, what kind of efforts does it take? When can you expect results and so on? So Alibaba, of course, no question, you will see there's many Asian countries as well that sell as manufacturers are also listed there. For China as well, Alibaba 1688. But then there are many other places as well, like Global Sources, Europages. In Germany is WLW, it's like who delivers what. AliExpress, of course, as well. You can chase down manufacturers, of course, also on social media. But one of the very big things is Google. So many of the companies that may have a webpage don't necessarily sell through the webpage because they usually get customers by referrals. And others tell them, hey, there's a factory. And so not many of them are really, really, really well situated with a webpage. Most of them have it, but it could well be that it's outdated. Maybe they don't sell the product or produce it anymore, which they have done in the beginning. On the other hand, it may have just simply changed, or they do something completely different and never cared about the webpage again. So what you can do is call them and find out, hey, are you actually still producing that? Not only send an email, but maybe in this order to say, hey, call them and send them an email, or the other way around, just to prepare them to say there's something coming. Please be aware. We would like to have a proposal. When it comes to China, of course, I mean, Baidu, which is the local Google, because Google in China is not working that well. Call people or have vitamin C connections that can help finding out who is a supplier. When you go to one of the manufacturers and you would find you would find out that he doesn't produce the product, but it's somewhat close to what it is. For example, plastic injection. But you figure out, it's like, hey, I have a small unit to produce, but he's usually producing only larger tools or the other way around. He's specialized on small tools or in small products, but can't do big sizes. Let's say, for example, what are those? The dog lace or the trunk plastic molds for cars. And just go to him, and when he says, no, sorry, can't do that, call him again and ask, whom would you ask? What would be your next step if you want to solve the problem? Most of the times they know another producer, and you have the next contact and the next lead. Some things to watch out for. First of all is, of course, to get enough proposals so you can actually have a good market overview to know what is the real price and that you have the power to negotiate. Example, when I started with my first brands in 2014, of course, you go and you get about 2, 3, maybe 4 proposals. And what did I start with back then? I think it was sleeves for credit cards, where you put them in very simple aluminum foil. And you didn't really look much into getting even better prices. But let me tell you, when going, for example, into China, we usually target to get about 30 potential producers. And outside China, we usually target about 60, for the simple reason, not many of them, or not all of them, respond. And for some of them, it may be tougher and tougher to get a proposal actually, or find out that they do the product still. The target should be, if the market allows it, get 12, 10, 12, 15, maybe 20 proposals and put them all next to one another. Why? Because then you see, you have the high prices, you have medium prices and low prices. And you don't only have like 2 or 3 where one of the sellers may say, oh yeah, that's a cheap production, different quality, our quality is the best. But then you have actually the power to negotiate with all of those cheaper proposals to go towards the one who offer the highest quality for the high proposals, of course, and say, you know what, guys, we know you have the better quality. We want your better quality. But first of all, we have many high-priced other solutions as well, who may still be cheaper than you. As well, we have somewhat similar products for a lot cheaper. So getting the best quality with a lot of low-priced proposals as well as a counter offer, and your self-confidence to say, if he doesn't make it, I still have other producers. You can go to them and, of course, negotiate better. Second one, find out whether it's a manufacturer or a trading company. There are also tools about this. When it's a trading company, kick them out. We don't need anybody who holds the hand open, gets money for moving boxes from left to right. Plus, they're usually, of course, not willing to make any changes and adjustments. Do background checks about the suppliers. Means check, are they a registered business? Do they have an export license? How easy is the communication? How flexible are they in terms of adjustments to the product? What is their financial situation? What reviews do they have? Can you see that their top management, for example, is involved in some other companies that may be sued at the moment in front of court? All of those things you could go in and find out deeper and deeper how good a supplier could actually qualify. Bad webpage equals bad company? No, absolutely not. For the simple reason is companies who have a bad webpage and they're on the market. I used to say, if there's a producer out there who has a worse webpage than Signify.net, we upgraded a little bit, but I used to say, if they have a worse webpage than us and they're selling in the market for 5 or 10 years or longer, then there's a very good reason why they do that, because they're getting their customers through referrals. So really good sellers not necessarily need a very good webpage. And from there, you can, of course, find out, whether they need the webpage to sell or not. Flexibility in communication, same thing. Are they open for OEM? Are they open for ODMs? What can you do with adjustments, changes? Are they willing to actually communicate this? And this is also very often one of the indicators, if they're not really wanting to do any changes, it could be a trading company. Because of course, trading companies, they, on the other hand, don't want to make any changes, have all the communication. All they want to do is order from the one company, pack it in smaller boxes, ship it out. Adjustments and changes would cost them a lot of time. That's why I communicate with the producer directly. And are they producing products, those products actually at all, and really, have they produced them before? That will be a good indicator to see, yes, I understand you could produce the product, but have you done it really before? Small story. We had a seller before he came to us who said, hey, Sebastian, I had a trouble. I looked at all the samples, and I got 3 samples, and I went through, ordered whatever, number 2, and went in through mass production, and they didn't really check the quality. Quality control, by the way, is so super important. He got the products, he opened up the container in his own warehouse and noticed it does not look like sample 2 at all. So what did the producer or trading company, whatever, do? They knew they want to offer the product. So they ordered the product from 3 companies, from 3 different ones, and showed 3 different types as their sample. And then they tried to reproduce it, and they failed. So Quality control, by the way, a small one thrown in, not only after mass production, do it for the samples, do it in production, do it, for example, if you want to in the beginning of a production, in the middle of it, and so on and so on. I'll try to speed up here a little bit because I have quite a few hacks more that I'd like to give you, another 6 here, and I think then there's another slide with 10 hacks. I'll speed up because I think I have 8 minutes. Licenses and certificates, of course, check them if they're real. If you need help with all those things, we can do that. Many of the licenses and certificates, they may be faked. They may, on the other hand, also be not valid anymore. And Photoshop can do, you know, this a whole lot of tricks. So check, please, the licenses. When working with a sourcing agent or a company that helps you with sourcing, whether it's us or somebody else, ask a few challenging questions. Do you get all the contacts to all of the suppliers, or will they keep them secret? Because if so, then, well, a sourcing company afterwards will need to do your sourcing, and you never have the real access to the supplier yourself. Do they charge a percentage of the order volume? And yes, if so, how high is it? Do they charge a percentage of reorders? How high is it? And calculate those costs against that. And we'll see if you get the contacts, what it will cost you, how open and transparent everything is, and how many proposals will be gotten. Will it be 30 to 60 potential producers that will be found and target 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 proposals, or will you get 3? Offers versus the reality. I think this is a little bit the same as before. Have they produced the product already before, or is the outcome actually, can it be very different from what you expect? Where are they produced? Many of the companies, especially advertising companies, we see this millions of times. Yes, we're the producer. Bullshit. Sorry, I almost said it. They do not produce themselves. They give the order, for example, to a Chinese company. So check the question and ask them several times. Do you produce yourself, and where is your factory? You can also challenge them and ask, can I come by and come for a visit? Don't marry a stranger. Means, when you married your better half maybe already, you also didn't go on the first date and directly marry them, because the same as you have in relationships is everything in the beginning is nice, is great, is love and blah, blah, and all these things. But you will see that later on, you go through troubles, you go through difficulties, you will have fights and whatever else as well. Now, the same will happen with suppliers, especially when you go in the long term. Most of the time it will happen, but be prepared for it. The thing is, when you marry a person, you will do this with a person where you know, all right, we're going through troubles and fights together. And I can deal with that person and help to, I know it will come out well at the end. We're not getting divorced. Same thing with a supplier. You need to check. It may get troubles. There may be different opinions about the quality, about the production, about the timing when the next production should happen. And you need to see, do you get along with the supplier as well, that he can, that you can actually work with him. MOQs and payment terms, everything is negotiable. So if they tell you MOQ of 5,000, try it with 500. Many times you will succeed. And payment terms, never, please never. It doesn't matter where, don't make 100% upfront payment. Make for sure a down payment. And very important, final payment, always only, especially after the first orders, but also after several orders later again, surprise them sometimes to bring in another quality control. And only then, for example, most of the times it will be 50-50, 50 upfront, 50 after production before shipping, or 30-70. But later on, you can get 20, 30, 50. Let's say 20 upfront before production, 30 after production, 50% after receiving. And depending on how large you are, you may even, the big supermarkets, of course, they have the negotiations with them to say 0% upfront, 100% with 60 or 90 days payment after receiving the goods. Also, that can, depending on how large you are, happen. Now, quick, the 10 hacks. 3 or 30 suppliers. I think that's answered. Contact only from an existing database. Now, we've worked so far over our years with Signify, with all our suppliers, with about 30,000 different suppliers so far. And if we would only pick the ones that we know already, you may get 2, 3, 4 proposals. But at the same time, my suggestion is always look for new ones. Do not just look for the same ones. If they make plastic injection, it doesn't mean that the small parts, they can also produce large parts. Always be on the lookout for every product to look specifically for the ones who can create it. Because a wallet, that's also one of my products from the first brand, a wallet out of textile or out of wood or out of carbon fiber is not the same as out of leather. And the ones who can produce textile goods may not be able to produce some out of leather because it's very different stitching, there's different machinery, different needles, and all of those things that you need. Do you get the contact data, again, of the suppliers from a sourcing agency when you work with them? Why should you get that? Well, so that you have the chance every time, to work on your own with a supplier and not be, dependent on the sourcing company that they have to do the next sourcing and charge you a percentage. Do we do that? Of course not. We give everything out for free. Sorry, not for free. That was wrong. I try to give everything out to you for free right now, but we give out all the contact data. Is it a fixed rate per product? Question, if you need to look 20 hours or 500 hours in very worst case. Does it make sense to have a fixed rate per product? Is it reasonable? Most likely not. Go look out for to say, what is the real effort? Sometimes maybe 5 hours, sometimes maybe 20, sometimes 40 hours. How could you calculate this in one fixed rate? Bribes by manufacturers. When you work with a sourcing agency, make sure and ask them, how do you make sure not to get any bribes? The way we figured it out is, well, if we look for 60 potential producers, then they come up and say, here's 5,000, here's $10,000. And we say, look, you're trying to bribe us, but we're still getting in contact with 59 other suppliers. Do you actually think that your bribing makes the other more expensive or makes your product cheaper? No, we're working in the interest, and that should be for a sourcing company the way. And of course, the same as it is for you to find the best offer, not the one that is bribed. And then they also understand it's like, no, yeah, doesn't make sense. I can give you money, but it's not going to have any output. Percentage of the order volume. If you're ordering $50,000 and you get 10%, that's $5,000 order prices for a first product. And I think that's very expensive. And if you say, for example, $500,000 reorder, 6%, that would be $30,000. Where I was like, wow, okay, $30,000 for a reorder. It most of the time takes 10 hours of work. And that could be a good indicator to say if a sourcing company is working with an hourly rate, 10 hours times whatever the rate is, compared to $30,000, you'll see it will be a lot cheaper. Quality control. I think I said it many times. I'll just repeat it 3 more times. Quality control, and quality control. Please do them. 2 emails and 3 calls. We're usually going now to say when you go for sourcing outside of China, it's more like 3 emails and 3 calls, because again, they're not as service oriented in sales most of the time as the Chinese are. And this is what they really understood. Why? Because many of the salespeople in the factories, they are extremely commission driven by having a small or smaller base wage, plus then of course a high possibility of getting a commission. And outside the other countries, they're not necessarily always service oriented. Don't contact aimlessly. If you're looking for a plastic mold in a very small size, it may be into different several parts out there. Don't just shoot, like shotgun principle, and just contact everyone who does a plastic injection. Doesn't make much sense. Go specifically really before you contact them, that you pre-qualify them. Why? For the simple reason is, imagine all of them answered, and you have 100 emails in there, and you need to go through them, and then you say, oh my God, now they indeed all of them answered, and I need to sort them out. It gives you just a lot more work. And as a sourcing company as well, it should be less work, less hours for the interest in the customer, and for you as well. Don't give yourself more work than necessary. And as a last one, the undercover hack. I think I'm 1 minute over. I'm sorry for that. But Anthony, that was your fault. You took it over a little bit. The undercover hack. Wallets. I'm producing them since 2014. A couple of years later, I went in, and of course, those are the things that you learn along the way. Is that, of course, you try to reduce the prices, and after 3 years, 4 years, it was not $4.70 anymore. Then it was maybe whatever, $4.20 or $3.90. And then you go in as an undercover hack, means you just contact them with a different name, with a different email from a different company, with a different request. And this is how I also, of course, in the first years, and figured out, it's like, okay. So for new customers, you offer the same wallet for $2.20, and to me, you offer it for the $3.90. That's a bit strange. So go undercover, find out, especially for the products that you already search or sell for a longer time, optimize the cost. And maybe as an additional one, now let's put this as number 11, the products that you're selling already in your best sellers. Do me a favor, look into them to optimize the cost. We've saved our customers more than $300 million by finding better producers and optimizing also product costs. That may go for the aggregators, but also for the smallest as well as large private Amazon sellers. Very often, whether before an exit to increase your, the multiple, you have a higher margin when you get better prices. The better margin gets a higher multiple. For the aggregators, the other way around. Before purchasing a brand, you may optimize the cost. But for any seller who's still active and wants to keep selling products, look into your product cost and try to optimize them time over time. One of them, we helped them save 27% import tax because we found a producer in Vietnam instead of China, and we made it $1 cheaper. He sell in the first year 300, in the next year 500,000 units. That's $500,000 saved by just optimizing one product. And with this, Seth, I hope I didn't go over it for too long.
Hey,
thank you,
Sebastian, you did amazing. Denise says she's definitely reaching out to Zignify. That's zignify.net. Hoffman loved it. He said, terrific. Melina asked, is there a website to find suppliers in Mexico for US sellers? Google's not really showing anything. Do you know of any resources for that?
Yes, I mean, we're also, of course, using, for example, global sources. We are doing the search ourselves. I mean, you look into them, and one of the other things that you really do also a lot in Mexico is that I think actually we had a list just now, send it out to more than 200 of our suppliers or the suppliers we work with in Mexico. You search, you call, you talk to them, you use the local Google, not always google.com, and then start getting into them and start calling. Other than that, the basic platforms will most of the time show you some, but I can later also look for you which out of Mexico platforms there are.
Okay, Sebastian, people are asking for your slides as well, so please send those over. And then last question, then we'll jump into Chris. Is it customary for sourcing companies to charge a percentage of the order? I know that you guys don't charge like that, but if so, what's the percentage of the order that's standard?
There's no standard. Yes, I think that makes us a little bit unique is we do not charge any percentage of an order because it is, think about it. You would have kind of the interest to push the order price a little bit higher and say, hey, Seth, Chinese New Year, around the corner, or we'll have a Labor Day on the 1st of May. They may be closed off as well for at least for one day. I try to push you a little bit higher and maybe not necessarily give you the cheapest offer, but because I get the higher percentage. There may be anything from 2%, 5%, 6%, 10%. Some of them go even 15%. It all depends on the sourcing company, but it can be quite substantial cost.
Sebastian, we really appreciate you sharing everything that you've learned. Please do send over those slides so everyone can check it out. Guys, go check out Zignify if you want to get help with your sourcing work. Sebastian, thanks so much.
Thank you very much as well from Germany. May I still be in here listening? Sure.
Yes. All right, let's welcome to the monthly masterclass, Chris McCabe. Chris, been a long time coming, my friend.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, really, really good, guys. If you don't know Chris, he's definitely been around the industry for a long time. And now, Chris, you're known kind of as the guy, the compliance guy almost, right? You're the guy who
Compliance
knows
Chris.
Compliance Chris, exactly.
Yep.
So
That's an alliteration. That's
right.
There, compliance Chris.
People also call me
Chris?
Cambridge Chris. I live in Cambridge, Mass, so I get that C too.
there you go.
So there was the Duchess of Cambridge, right? And so you are the
We're like the secondary Cambridge. We're not the real Cambridge over in England. So
right.
Yeah. We're the copycat Cambridge.
Right. Copycat Cambridge Chris. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris. Well, without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's talk a little bit today about preventing suspensions and keeping your account safe and your business intact.
Yep. So I think I just want to share my screen, right?
Yep, go ahead. Let's make sure all the technology works here.
Yep.
William says you're the Count of Cambridge. That's a good one.
And I'll just go into slideshow, right?
Yes, sir.
Let me get rid of that. Oh, I'm blocking the slideshow. Okay. Can you see my screen?
No, we see what's up. Maybe this is Sebastian. Let's see here.
It should say protecting your Amazon account, but I am sharing.
Hey, Sebastian.
Screen sharing.
I think Sebastian might still be sharing. Sebastian, go ahead and disable your screen share there.
That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Oh, I got you. Stop sharing. There you go. All right, now
there's like the hourglass. Remember the hourglass? Does anyone remember that?
Yep. All right, Chris, take it away, my friend.
All right. So, and I still have a 30-minute chunk, or should I kind of keep things moving here?
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead for 30 minutes.
Yep. And I tend to talk kind of quickly, but anything you miss, need me to clarify, this happens all the time because this dense subject matter kind of complex. Just shoot a message in the chat, or just shout out to Seth, and we'll take it from there. Why are we talking about standard operating procedures when it comes to Amazon account ownership, brand ownership? Well, it's because we see a lot of people reacting instead of being proactive, making hasty mistakes, making mistakes based on things they've seen posted elsewhere, like in the seller forums or Facebook groups or wherever, and not really having a tight game set up before they address a policy warning or a performance notification that says their top selling ASIN is down, or of course, God forbid, that their whole account is shut down. So everything I'm focused on today and everything we focus on for my company, e-commerce Chris, is around dealing with suspensions if they happen, but of course, doing as much as you can to make sure you don't have a suspended ASIN or an account suspension. And that really does mean having robust standard operating procedures and protocols in place before something happens. Sometimes even having messaging written up, anticipating a potential problem on your top selling ASIN or account wide. So moving into it, what does account protection really mean? I worked on the so-called seller performance teams for several years. That's my perspective, is seeing appeals that sellers sent in, things that were off the mark, things that were missed, extraneous content that didn't belong in there. My perspective is thinking how Amazonians think about this type of stuff. Well, guess what? As a seller, you have to think as close as you can. Maybe you didn't work there the way I did, but you have to think in terms of how will they view your appeal? Why are they asking you for an appeal? What SOPs do you have already in place for reviewing your account so that they don't ask you for an appeal? And I'll get into the guts and the details of that soon in a subsequent slide. But for the moment, just think in terms of how can you examine yourself and in effect, give yourself an account health rating and check through any potential problems before they get to them. Because communicating, as I'm sure everyone hearing my voice today will agree, communicating with Amazon's teams are difficult. We're not just talking about seller support. Consultancies like mine communicate with all areas of Amazon, compliance teams, seller performance, infringement, IP-related investigations, review abuse reporting, anti-competitive behavior and attacks. It runs the gamut, right? So you need to have kind of a different SOP just for communication, which I'll get into in a minute. But the first step order of business is making sure you're keeping a close eye on what buyers are saying to you about your products and what they might be complaining about. First order of business within that order of business, I guess, is just being aware of what Amazon's doing, not just randomly looking at Facebook posts and saying, well, I haven't seen anyone mention XYZ lately, so that must mean they don't care about it anymore, or just, generic seller forums posts. Keep a close eye on what Amazon enforcement is up to. What kinds of complaints do they seem overly concerned with? A good example might be during Q4 holiday peak, safety complaints, health hazard issues, anything around counterfeit, that's kind of year round. But that's the peak season for Amazon enforcing, hey, there's an unsafe product out there. We have to make sure we pull that ASIN down as quickly as possible because there's more orders during November and December. There's more buyers who could potentially be harmed using the product in November and December. So think the way they think. And that's like, some of it's seasonal, some of it's, themes that come and cycle through at certain times of the year. Try to anticipate that so that you're not surprised. They love to surprise people with these lightning strike messages. Something like an IP infringement could be a lightning strike that you couldn't anticipate because you simply have a competitor out there making false allegations against you for using trademarked keywords or for using their copyrighted images or text. Even if you can easily disprove these things, be prepared for that to come at you out of nowhere. Perfect example, an IP dispute, intellectual property, bogus complaint, is a great example of something to have pre-written and ready to send into Amazon, just in case somebody challenges your design or your patent or your trademark ownership or your copyright ownership, because you don't want to waste time composing something that you could have already had in the can ready to go, even just a template that you could have filled in some blanks later. Same thing with inauthentic complaints. Have invoices ready to go, supplier info ready to go. Amazon loves to deny appeals for, hey, we couldn't verify your supplier. Maybe not even what you wrote in the appeal mattered to them. Maybe it's just things missing from the invoice. So have as part of your SOPs, your operating procedures, invoices are set, ready to go, and they will be acceptable. I'll go into detail on what kind of documentation they're looking for, but make sure you're not scrambling for this stuff last minute, because obviously you could be losing thousands of dollars a day that you could have spent working on the appeal, getting it in, and maybe getting it accepted on the first try because you weren't just haphazardly throwing things together. There are so many listing violations that sellers see performance notifications and warnings for. Creating duplicates, ASIN variation misuse is extremely common. I think roughly 85 or 90% of the people who come to us that tell us we did our ASIN variations correctly. Why is Amazon hassling us? We're getting all these warnings. Almost every time we look, they're doing it wrong. Changes to detail pages that are adding seller specific info that doesn't belong there because somebody else who might be reselling your product might join that page, and there might be info on the detail page that you added that don't correspond to them as a seller. It's specific to you as a seller. Easy things to kind of think about and miss if you're the brand owner. Duplicates, really all I meant by that was people get ASIN suspended. And I saw a case 2 weeks ago, maybe somebody was out there saying, oh, just create a new ASIN, if they're not reinstating this one. Sometimes Amazonians will tell you this in support, or even account health reps will for some reason say, oh, just make a new ASIN. And they'll forget that you could easily be risking suspending the entire account if you're just creating duplicates when your ASINs get suspended. So I don't know where that came from. I saw agencies recommending this. I think it was because it was an agency that was taking on reinstatement appeal projects and had no idea how to really do them. So they were just kind of winging it. But be aware of things like that, because that makes you look worse. Again, how would Amazon view you? will be a big theme today. It makes you look worse in their eyes. The worse you look, the more heavy-handed the enforcement's going to be, the more likely you are to risk the entire account, not just an individual ASIN. And then I threw a couple other things out here in terms of late shipment rates. Generally speaking, sometimes people have automation running on their account, or they hire a service to run that for them, and no one's keeping an eye on the automation. There might be a technical mistake that results in really bad metrics. If your metrics really skew way out of range quickly, sometimes they auto suspend you the entire account again. So if you don't have somebody keeping an eye on stuff, then that can be a risk and a problem. So where's the oversight and who's in charge of it? And then used, sold as new, is the condition. Can you prove that you're selling new products? Do you have good documentation from your supplier that shows that they manufacture only new products? Do you have information on the packaging, for example, if Amazon thinks maybe your packaging wasn't sufficient to protect the item in transit, whether it was on its way to FBA or on its way to the buyer? Good things to be thinking about so that you're not wasting time, and you're certainly not panicking when it's time to appeal something, because whether it's Amazon threatening to close a case on you after 5 days, or they're asking you for certifications of analysis or results from an ISO certified lab, let's say you're selling supplements or consumables, they might only give you 7 days to produce that. So, I mean, for some of the compliance documentation we see, it takes 7 days just to get it right from the other party. So don't rush into, well, we're going to send in an appeal and we're just going to tell Amazon that we're getting the documentation together, but we don't have it yet. Well, what happens when you do that? They reject it, right? Or they send you a generic response saying, great, come back when you have it. You didn't really get any mileage out of that, right? Anything that's hastily written is probably going to be rejected. I'm fairly confident saying that across the board. Anytime you appeal a policy warning saying, well, this is garbage, this is wrong, take this off our account health. What are you talking about? If it's generic language where you're just protesting something without any real details, think in terms of how your counterpart on the other side, whether it's seller performance or any Amazon staff, might view the message that you send in, right? Keep in mind how their hour, how their day, how their week is structured, right? They're busting it through as many of these cases as possible. They're moving quickly. They need to make sure that what you've given them is useful. It's what they asked for. There isn't a lot of tangential, unrelated info. Sometimes that alone is why appeals get denied or at least ignored, and there's silence that comes back. It's because you're not thinking of things from their perspective, right? They're looking at it quickly. There can't be lots of extra text about how you feel or what you like or what you don't like or what you already gave them. You might not have already given them what they were asking for. You might have, given them some extraneous info. So keep it tight, keep it written short, bulleted paragraphs or short paragraphs in terms of, this is what you asked for, this is what we gave you. They only have a few minutes to read this stuff. They also are supposed to annotate your account with whatever their decision includes. But if there's any doubt in their mind that you deserve reinstatement or that you've given them everything they've asked for, they skip it, right? They either don't respond at all, or they kick it to somebody else, or they just deny it and don't show any signs of annotations on the account. Often you can call in and talk to account health reps and ask them, hey, it looks like this was denied. What are the annotations? What did they say in terms of what's missing or what's incomplete or what's rejectable here? Maybe they won't have annotated much because they didn't bother reading it in the first place. Some of that's on them for being disorganized and for not having robust auditing, but it could be that you didn't give them a good appeal, didn't proof it, had it contain unprofessional language and so forth. In terms of account compromises, big topic. I'll make a couple of comments now. And in terms of opting out of returns, try to align with Amazon's objectives here of not having returned items go into FBA and go out to a second buyer. If an item goes back in and a second buyer receives the item, it's supposed to still be new. Amazon's very charitable in terms of how they deem whether or not an item can still be sold as a new item. Buyers often aren't as charitable, and they might say that you sent them a used item or a broken item or something with shelfware, whatever it might be. In terms of the account compromise point I was just about to make, only use your primary email in one place, which is your Amazon account. Don't use it personally. Don't use it professionally elsewhere. Reduce the likelihood that your primary email could be guessed or discovered. Don't take the risk if you have multiple employees who are signing in and out of your primary email. Don't take the risk that they might click on a link that says sign into your Amazon account here. Only sign in, of course, through Seller Central. I know this is basic for many of you, but it's still worth repeating because we still hear from sellers that their primary email is everywhere all at once. It's an email address that a competitor or a fraudster could easily guess or attack, and they could either try to take over the email address itself, or they could try to take over your Amazon account and compromise it. Really messy. You lose days of sales. Just use common sense and best practices around where that email is used, how many people have access to it, and so forth. In terms of brand registry, again, we're in brand registry 2.0 now. That's been around for years. Most people know the only way to responsibly sell a brand on Amazon is to have it trademark registered and to be in brand registry. If you've lost brand registry because of something you were doing, for example, sending in fake IP complaints or counterfeit complaints against resellers to knock them off your listing, or other things that brand registry would kick you out for, stop doing those things immediately and try to assess what steps are required by Amazon in order to get you back in brand registry. Some people just get kicked out of brand registry because they don't really know how it works. They assign it to an employee or an agency, and that person didn't know either and didn't know what was going on. And that person made mistakes that got the brand banned on brand registry, or revoked, I should say. You lose access to lots of stuff you need. So make sure you're not making that mistake. Again, what kind of seller do they want? This is maybe my third or fourth slide on this topic. Because if they think you're not playing by the rules, obviously, they're going to put you on the catapult and fling you out over the walls, right? They don't want you around because they can easily find somebody who sells what you sell or does what you do and replace you with that party if that party is willing to play by the rules of the game more than you. They're looking for long-term thinking. They're looking for brands that are starting new brands that need a new account for that. They've already successfully grown a brand. Maybe they are looking at exit strategy selling that brand, and they're already thinking down the road, I guess, or around the corner in terms of what SKUs they want to launch for a current brand or what other brands they want to launch in the future. Long-term thinking, right? Not, oh, I'm going to sell a bunch of product for a short amount of time and then that's going to be it. We talk to a lot of brand owners and sellers who are selling an ASIN that's troubled for whatever reason, lots of buyer complaints, could be on the manufacturing level, could be poor quality control, could be just the detail page being confusing, whatever it might be, bad category, wrong product for the wrong time. They stick with it. They want to sell through their inventory and they're just digging a deeper hole in terms of their account health. Bare minimum, put that ASIN to the side and don't sell it for a while until you figure out what's going wrong in the manufacturing process or quality control. But don't just keep, going back over and over and making the mistake of we have to sell through all this stuff and then we'll figure out what's going wrong. You're just going to damage your account health. You might wind up adding to other problems already existing on your account that might lead to an account suspension that completely could have been avoided if you had stayed off their radar. And as you're going to hear in multiple presentations today and other days and at conferences, who's packaging your stuff? Are you keeping a close eye on your factory or your manufacturer? Are you getting random sample pulls sent to you out of batches so that you can make sure that the quality of the item is exactly as described and exactly what it was with the same materials before when you began your relationship? So again, Amazon's thinking about this stuff when they view complaints that they get from buyers. So this is front and foremost in their minds. Is it the way that you conduct your operations as well? Are you keeping an eye not just on your ops and your processes and your QC and whatnot, what your employees are doing too? Are you keeping a keen eye on, is Amazon kind of concerned, or are they looking to call you with their account health reps to say, hey, there's a bunch of unresolved issues here? Throughout 2022, I think we heard from, I don't know how many sellers that said, hey, we got a preemptive call from account health and we got a message from them saying they're going to call us in 24 hours to talk about all these unresolved ASIN issues. Now it's a little bit clearer with the account health rating, and the dashboard's been cleaned up a bit, so you can have a pretty good sense visually that things are going south for certain products on certain issues. But it's good to kind of have your own process layered on top of theirs for what exactly is going on here with our ability to turn the tide on some of these complaints. Otherwise, you're accumulating too many. Your return rates are too high. ASIN level defect rates are too high, and of course, the entire account's threatened if that continues over a certain period of time. Then just going into some individual types of complaints that you're going to be keeping an eye out on. Yes, brand owners get counterfeit complaints. It's not just resellers being reported by brands who don't want them on their listings. Counterfeit complaints can happen to anybody. Amazon can ask any brand for an invoice or for info on who their supplier is simply because a buyer uses that term. Or yes, in an abuse case, your competitor might buy from you just to say this is counterfeit, just to trigger the bots, right? I'm not saying that's extremely common for everyone. I'm not saying it's not fixable, but it's good to have something already written up in the can, ready to show Seller Performance or any Amazon teams with the invoice set to go, wording of appeal. We are the brand owners. We understand that we may have received an inauthentic complaint, a complaint from a buyer, or possibly from a competitor that says we're selling counterfeit versions of our own products, but we're not. We are the brand. Here's our trademark registration. Here's where we make the products. Have a nice day. Those can be remedied, but the logic of why Amazon accuses you of counterfeiting your own brand can't be remedied as easily on the Amazon side because they're clumsy, they're disorganized, and a lot of this stuff happens illogically, where Amazon's really kind of making more work for themselves and dead set on not changing what they need to change or improving what they need to improve as quickly as you would think they should. It's going to seem illogical. Enforcement's really inconsistent. But if you appeal one of these and they say, no, you gave us the wrong stuff, we can't accept your appeal, call into account health, figure out, again, what do the annotations say? Why do they reject this? They might not tell you what the annotations say, but they'll hopefully paraphrase or give you the gist of it. Drill down into, why do you guys think we're selling fake versions of our own products? Or if inauthentic is really somebody saying that the quality of our products isn't there, what more needed to go into that appeal in order to reassure Amazon that we're conducting the right QC and examining voice of the customer, return reasons, direct buyer messages. Same thing with safety complaints. You have to be a master at looking for clusters of data, detecting patterns in voice of the customer, understanding where buyers are misunderstanding the product, let's say. If it's a safety issue, you have to have the compliance documentation ready to go, of course, the invoice is ready to go, but you also have to have an understanding of why people are consistently trying to return something, right? If there are similarities in their comments, don't just assume it's the same competitor buying from you over and over to report you for bad safety or health hazards or things like that. Assume for the moment that it's a legit complaint and understand that if they're rejecting your appeal, if you go through the questionnaire, right, that they have the checklist for safety complaints now, are they asking different questions this time? Keep a close eye on it. Don't just copy and paste whatever your answers were last time. If they go into these and they see that you're just copying and pasting what you did last time you had one of these over and over, or that you're just kind of guessing, like, oh, I think it's this, it might be that, I believe it's this, I'm not sure if it's that, then they reject these things, right? Because they think you don't know your own products. They think you don't know what you're talking about. Drill down in exactly why Amazon thinks that the customer thought the item wasn't safe. This is part of what we always say when people hire us to review their accounts looking for trouble spots or warning signs. I mean, you can look for these too, right? You can get adept through practice at investigating yourself by looking at the wording of the product reviews, looking for those trends, keeping a keen eye on your account health dashboard. Are you seeing something else pop up the second you resolve one problem in your account health? Well, if you're constantly fighting a two-front war, maybe that says something about your operations or about who's in charge of things or about the quality of the products, or just about the quality of your detail page content. A lot of people hire listing optimization companies to do their detail pages. That might not be the best optimization. It might not communicate as much info on the product, and you might be confusing buyers instead of clarifying things. Who's in charge of reviewing your performance notifications? Is that at a high level of the company, a low level of the company? A lot of people are using VAs to do some of this stuff. Are the VAs telling you that they're Amazon experts, but they're just kind of reading through things and not taking it as seriously as they should? Or do you have somebody that's in-house staff who's looking at some of the info? I mean, Amazon gives you a wealth of data now, ASIN level and otherwise, that they didn't a few years ago. You can look at voice of the customer. You can dig down into those return reasons. There's a lot of info there. And if you can't get enough info from that, of course, you can message buyers to say, hey, we saw your complaint. What can we do? Ask them some questions about the product. There's a lot of info in Seller Central, and also all else excluded. You can call account health and say, look, I went looking into my account. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with these complaints. I'm trying to figure out what's missing in my ASIN level appeals. I'm getting either silence from Amazon or no one's indicating what exactly is considered the problem, what's going wrong. We can't find it ourselves. Make sure you've actually done the research and the looking around before you start saying things like this, of course. Make sure you're not on the phone with your account manager, your SAM, which is a strategic account manager, account health reps, whoever, and guessing at this stuff and skipping steps. The more you skip steps, the more you're going to leave, muddy footprints behind you that they can see, oh, they're just trying to take shortcuts here. They don't really know what's going on with their products. We're not going to waste time talking to them. We're just going to tell them to go back and do their homework. So look for those patterns, look for outliers. If there's a sudden spike in negative data, of course, it could be a competitor. Everyone at this point knows that Amazon's way, way, way behind the curve in terms of identifying one brand attacking another, or brands hiring black hat service providers, in quotes, fraudster basically types, to attack their competitors with fake buyer orders, bad reviews and so forth. I mean, we've all heard about that. Make sure you're running a tight ship and you've got your game at the highest level, so that if Amazon does have an interest in looking at competitor attacks, you can show them some data from, hey, we had a sudden spike, or we had a bunch of orders from this one particular location. Who knows, that location might be near the corporate headquarters or the offices of your competitor. I mean, there are things you can look for, trends and patterns that they are going to need. They're not just going to take the ball and run with it. You have to get them started and help them launch a real investigation in terms of what's going on with your sudden problem. Have a backup plan, right? Assume that Amazon might not review your appeal properly the first time. Well, what's a backup plan for that? Be ready to escalate if Amazon's dropping the ball. If you provided all the documentation, let's say, that they asked for, um, and they've failed to review it or they ignored it. Have an escalation ready saying, hey, we gave you everything you asked for. Here it is again. Why isn't it being reviewed? What team do we need to go to? Or executive, if you're emailing people, I mean, reaching out on LinkedIn to executives or Twitter, right? A lot of sellers are using Twitter now to get to Amazon's enforcement teams. So there's a lot. That's a big topic. I know it depends on what products you're selling. I mean, do you have a reliable supplier? Oops, what happened there? You still with me?
We got you, Chris.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks
What
like
happened to
your screen share dropped.
Yep.
My screen share dropped. Okay,
You're trying to play a Norm.
Well,
video
actually, your
now.
slides.
my slides.
I'm interested to see what the Norm video is myself.
There we go.
There you go. All good.
Somebody called me and that threw out my whole, I don't know what happened.
You're
I
good
shouldn't
now.
be getting a call through. Are you sourcing product? I think I only have a handful of more slides. I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. I know it's 5 after 2, but
Yep. You're okay. Go ahead.
how are you? What's your source? Do you need to change suppliers? Are they a reliable supplier? Are you confident that the products are going to be the quality that you advertise? Let's say, not authenticity. Obviously, if you're the brand owner, you're pretty confident that they're authentic, but the quality of the items and the quality of your quality control, are you sure that you're limiting the number of opportunities for buyers to complain about the products? Safety concerns we already talked about. In terms of quality control, obviously you got to factor in China. You don't just want to take them at their word. You need to have local organizations who are adept at keeping an eye on your supplier to make sure quality control measures, at whether it's China or not, at the source of the manufacturing process, are doing what they're supposed to do. And then, as I mentioned earlier, pull samples from batches and make sure that the quality is exactly what that supplier promised you. Documentation, we talked about a ton today. Certainly storing and having the invoices is important. Making sure that suppliers are verifiable. They have a website. When Amazon people go to the website, they see that that supplier is established as a supplier for your kinds of products, or a manufacturer for your kinds of products. Some of what I've got here, letters of authorization, that's more for like you're a reseller, but you're a brand registered agent for that brand. And you can show that you're authorized to sell the product. Trademark registration. I'm hoping most people listening to me right now have already finished their trademark registration and they're in brand registry. So the suppliers being easily verifiable is really important. Amazon has really come up with this idea that they need to reject a supplier unless all of the boxes can be checked. Part of all of the boxes being checked is having a really good website, not just having an Alibaba presence, or not just saying, hey, it's a factory and they don't really have a website, they don't sell online themselves, or having an excuse isn't going to work. You have to be able to document all this stuff. In terms of product listings, there's so many different policy violations around listings. I mean, I mentioned a few earlier, like ASIN variations, having seller specific content on a product detail page. Are you doing these things right? You know, if you're doing it yourself or you have an agency doing it for you, do they have a compliance arm? Do they know what the rules and policies are? Do they know when they're violating them? Are they describing your products well, or are they overreaching? Are they violating policies when they make some of those descriptions? A lot of people who sell consumables have gotten in trouble for unsubstantiated health claims. That's the best example I can think of. But can you, regardless of whether or not you're selling like supplements, can you improve the listings to make sure that they're clear? If you are selling supplements, to use that example, do you have lists of allergies where if you have one of those allergies, you probably shouldn't consume that supplement, or certain ingredients that people have to stay away from? I mean, is that all accessible on the detail page, not buried somewhere where a buyer is likely not to see it? So making sure you're checking for 100% accuracy. Where products are stored, how they're packaged, how they're handled. Is that an afterthought, or is that front and center in terms of, well, we want to avoid these condition complaints. We don't want anyone complaining about shelfware or about packaging that didn't protect the item in transit, so it arrived damaged, right? These are the avoidable things. I mean, some damage is not avoidable. A certain percentage of any orders they ship could be damaged or mishandled, but make sure you're doing everything. You've locked down all possible problems on your side. And I mentioned earlier about automations, don't just set it and forget it. Be prepared for outages. Amazon tends to be less than charitable when things go wrong for technical reasons on your side. We still seem to talk to people who miss that something happens on a weekend, and by Monday morning, there's a lot of damage that they have to clean up, and some of them are already suspended. So in terms of staff training, make sure they understand all of these red flags, train and retrain and audit your training, and don't just tuck it away in the back of your mind for a rainy day. Well, if we ever need to write a plan of action or a POA, we'll mention that we're improving training. No, you're going to have to provide the specifics and the steps and the proactive measures to make sure that whoever your staff is, or like I said, if you're working with VAs, they're not making these mistakes twice. Amazon isn't really a third and fourth chance marketplace. So whether it's policy related, safety related, inauthentic complaints, or poor metrics, make sure the people that are supporting you are 100% clued into what not just what you want them to do as part of their jobs, but what Amazon wants all of you to be doing, knowing that they're not great at communication, knowing that they might not give you a lot of time to fix stuff. Anticipate and preempt as much of that stuff as you can before you get into trouble. And your odds of being suspended, account-wide suspension, are greatly reduced. And happy to take any questions on this.
All right,
Or I
Chris.
can
So
poke in the chat.
we do have several questions here.
Okay.
So let me start from the bottom and work my way up here. So we have William saying, is this a good idea or bad? Should we escalate every issue Amazon approaches us with?
No. Every issue, like what? Does he have an example?
Maybe we'll let William clarify while we do another question.
Escalation should primarily be Amazon's wrong. They made a clear mistake. It's 100% obvious that they've made a mistake, or that they're just not reading anything you're sending them. So that's the basis of an escalation. You call account health and you say, why was this appeal rejected? And they say, well, there's no annotations there. There's no proof that it was even reviewed properly. That's a great basis for an escalation. Whether or not they're willing to tell you that, might take a couple calls. But if they're honest and if they're doing their job, account health reps will often say, yeah, there's nothing here. It was just denied. Well, guess what? Fabulous basis for an escalation, because it means whoever landed on your appeal in the first place didn't feel like doing their job that day. And it also means that their boss didn't feel like auditing how well they did their job that day. Sounds like a great escalation basis to me.
Okay. Al says, any updates on California's Prop 65? I got the following message from my PPC guy, a warning from a friend who's an attorney. A lot of Amazon sellers are being targeted by lawyers who will just settle if they claim you aren't following Prop 65. Highly recommend you immediately take actions to analyze your products and put all applicable Prop 65 warnings. Anything there, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, since that's legal in nature, I would just say double check anything. I mean, there's a lot of lawyers running around the Amazon space, not just about this, but in general, offering all kinds of stuff. They may or may not have expertise in that area. They might just be saying, hey, I'm a lawyer. Hey, Prop 65, give me money. So you want to be judicious with how you spend that money. I don't have a particular attorney right now to recommend during this, but I have had people reaching out to me for recommendations. So, I mean, I suppose that would be, I'm happy to ask around and run somebody down for you to address the issue you're facing.
Really good advice.
I'm not an attorney myself. Obviously, I can't answer the legality of it, but sorry, go ahead.
Well, so really good advice from my understanding, and we're friends with a lot of attorneys in the space, but a lot of times they need to generate new business, so it's nice to create problems that don't necessarily exist.
Right, I agree.
Yep. All right, next question from Mark. He says, do you know of something like an Amazon ranking block? We have an established listings with thousands of solid reviews. Copy is good, images are good, conversion is good. We push hard with PPC. Listing is 10 years old, and for 8 years we were number 1 or number 2 for the top keyword. Last couple of years though, we slipped back to number 25 to 30 and can't get back above that. When I look at who is between us and top of page 1, there are numerous listings with terrible ratings, not optimized listings, some with 0 reviews, and I can't help but think that something is wrong, that we can't even pass these listings.
So I missed the first part. The listing itself got suspended and then they're having trouble regaining sales rank, or?
No, there was no suspension.
Okay.
It was just, he's asking if you know of some type of a ranking block, if there's some type of trigger internally.
No, I mean, there's nothing like that should exist. A ranking block. We have had people who are being outranked by products with fewer reviews and worse reviews, and we've had to investigate whether there's some sort of abuse going on, whether somebody's trying to pull strings on the inside to get a product mistreated. But that's case by case. I don't, wouldn't necessarily be instructive here. But there is no, hey, we're going to push these guys down. And I mean, typically it's like a suspended listing has trouble regaining sales rank because it's been down too long. That's another reason why people who kind of flail around doing appeals, it's not just like the money you're losing every day that you're not selling, you're losing sales rank too. And it can take time to climb back up, or more ad spend. So the costs associated with misbegotten appeals and things written the wrong way, sent the wrong place is enormous.
Yeah, so maybe that's something to have Chris look at, Mark. George says, a competitor has taken my images and made it their own. Do you handle things like this? What are you currently seeing as, let's see, an enforcement?
We do, yeah. I mean, that's copyright. Obviously, if you have an IP attorney on staff, or that, you can have them look at it and get going on it. But fake copyright complaints are rampant right now. We've seen people stealing a brand's images, putting them somewhere else, and then they're the ones making the accusation of the counterfeit theft, which is interesting. That's become extremely common. Amazon's aware of that. In terms of somebody using your images, you should be reporting them for copyright infringement for sure. Hopefully you can prove that they're your images.
Lena says, have to jump off. I greatly appreciate it. People are saying, thank you for answering all my questions. That's from William. Carla says, how do you opt out of returnable inventory?
Yeah, so that's they have a program now. I can maybe send you guys a follow-up on like where and how, in terms of you can decide to have all returns sent to you instead of having some go into returnable inventory. The functionality should be in Seller Central, but I can give you kind of a how-to on that.
Okay, last question here, Chris, from William. Has there been any evidence of Amazon 1P sabotaging a competitive product being sold as 3P, especially if Amazon is selling and shipped by Amazon?
There has been, and especially recently. So it's interesting that came up. I've since the first of the year, which isn't that long ago, I've seen people complaining about this. So it made me wonder if January was like when they decided to do this more. We've seen people who are kicked out of 1P and then they're not considered, 3P material, maybe because they weren't behaving price wise or otherwise the way they wanted them to do 1P. So we're seeing a lot of strange things like that. I don't necessarily take that on as a consulting case, but I might have some other ex-Amazon people I could have you show things to who would be able to move forward with helping or getting some information on it.
Okay.
Maybe that's another quick thing about us. We're appeals experts and, we handle brand registry issues and product and safety compliance issues. We're not like full service agency, one-stop shopping for absolutely everything. So if I know an ex-Amazonian who I've probably known and talked to for years that's an expert on something that we don't do, I would, more than happy to make a recommendation.
Okay, I missed the question earlier from Joshua. He says, can copycat or duplicate listings get flagged?
How do they get flagged?
Or he was asking if they do get flagged, or can they get flagged? I believe.
If they don't get flagged, well, Amazon's bot's kind of unreliable. If they don't get flagged, anyone who has a competitor who's paying any attention to them can just report it very quickly and very easily as a listing violation. That's often the way it happens now, is competitors are keeping a keen eye on each other. And if they see that something gets suspended and you create a dupe, you're kind of lucky if your competitor doesn't report you for that, because if Amazon thinks that you're evading their policy, restricted products, their policy violation team actions, then they can take your whole account away, right? So you would think that a competitor would
show you, give you a sneak peek. This is on us.
Would see value in that, right? Taking out their competition. So,
okay. And then Mike says, can you watermark your images for copyright?
Watermarking, no, you can't watermark your images, but usually it's just adding the copyright symbol, right?
Okay.
So,
well, Chris, we really appreciate having you on today, my friend. Where should people go to dig in if they need your help?
Right. So ecommerchris.com. If you want to go into our intake system, you want to show us anything, I mean, I would just use support at e-commerce Chris and mention somewhere in that message to us that you came to us through Seth or through today's webinar, because otherwise we'll lose you in the shuffle and we don't want to do that. We could lose you in the shuffle. We won't necessarily, but
yeah. So
everything I talked about today, we deal with on a daily basis. We get at least 1 or 2 sellers a day who have problems with anything I mentioned on any of these slides. So that tells me that, I mean, first of all, kudos to you guys for educating people and for doing this to begin with. And secondly, it just means that there's still a gap out there in terms of what people need to be doing and what they're currently doing. So
I love it. William says, thanks a million for being awesome, Chris.
Thank you, William, for being awesome yourself.
The Count of Cambridge. Thanks a lot, Chris. Now don't go anywhere, folks. Seth and I will wrap this up in just a minute. Have a good one, Chris.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
You too, man. All right, Seth. So, wow, Chatbox is going crazy. The monthly masterclass, one of our favorite platforms to share what's going on now in the industry. I've been posting the heck out of some commercial stuff inside the chat box. So if you haven't done it yet, on February 10th, Seth and I are going to go through our top 3 strategies for massive Amazon success. You can grab a spot for that free, 100% free Zoom call while capacity is still there by going to mybestsecrets.com. It's www.mybestsecrets.com. Seth?
Yep, that's great, Sean. So let's go through our last presentation of the day, which is you and I, Sean.
Can't wait. That's what I need. More camera time.
Yes, sir.
Are you driving or am I driving?
I am driving.
Okay, good. You've been picking up the slack for me all day. Thank you.
Okay, here, let's see what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and drop off camera to save some bandwidth as I go through this, Sean. So feel free to jump in with commentary as you see fit. But guys, we are going to go through one of my favorite strategies ever called creative cloning. If you've been around for a while, you probably heard us talk about this because it's made us so much money. But most people ignore this the first, second, third, 10th time that we talk about it until we literally beat them over the head with it because it's so simple that it's easy to ignore. But I'm telling you, this is one of the 3 big pillars that allowed Sean and I to grow from 0 to over $1 million per month on Amazon in less than 18 months. So as long as that sounds good, we'll just jump right into it. Won't take up too much time here. We'll get right into it. So we're sharing with you the most profitable strategies that have allowed us to grow faster than our competition. And this is not something that you're going to see in a course out there. What we're going to share with you today will fundamentally shift how you build listings on Amazon. So please, please, please pay attention. We figured out how to apply a strategy to Amazon that the biggest brands in the world have been using in retail for decades. But what we're going to be walking you through today is, like I said, one of the most profitable activities that you can do on Amazon today. It has created more front-end sales for us than any other strategy. And the crazy part is that you've probably never seen anything like this unless you've been hanging around with us for a while. So we've used this exact same concept that we're going to walk you through now to 10x our sales, and that's not an exaggeration. So look at our month over month sales growth that we achieved with this strategy. So you see month one, this is our first month ever in business. We got off to a pretty decent start. We did 35,000 in sales, but by July of 2015, we hit $900,000 per month in sales. And by December, we had $1 million per month in sales. And we've used this same strategy many, many times in almost every category, because remember, Sean and I have launched over 1,000 unique private label products of our own. So we've touched almost every category that you can imagine. So please pay close attention, because when you get this right, you're going to make a lot more money. So let me ask you this question. You can just respond in the chat box. To create the most highly optimized listing, where should you start? You start with your offer. And specifically, you start with a mafia offer. If you have read our book, which you probably have seen by now, called Private Label Millionaire Secrets, then you know that we spend a lot of time talking about how to create a mafia offer because it's so important. Let me show you how. So a mafia offer is an offer that your customer simply cannot refuse. It has to be an overwhelming amount of value. It must speak directly to one particular customer avatar that truly understands the value. And this means that the offer is designed to talk specifically to only one of the customer types in a number of sub niches. So I have some examples coming up. So what's the problem with this? Amazon has most sellers confused. Most sellers believe that one listing has to serve all customers. But let me ask you a question. If I invited you to a workshop for e-commerce sellers, would you be here right now? Maybe. Even if the rest of the offer was exactly the same, but if it was for e-commerce sellers, you would view this workshop that we're on right now as not nearly as valuable for you. But making this workshop for e-commerce sellers is too broad, right? It's not nearly as compelling to you as an Amazon seller, because you're not just in e-commerce, you're in a sub niche. You sell on Amazon, right? And this is the exact problem that most listings on Amazon have. They're trying to speak to everyone with the exact same language. So let me show you how you can use this concept to 10x your sales on Amazon. So did you realize that you, as the brand owner, can clone your listings and have the listing speak directly to one particular type of customer at a time? I'm going to show you how you can clone your listings using the exact same inventory that you already have to make a lot more sales, all within the same brand. And this is the process that we call creative cloning. So narrow your market to a sub niche, and you will earn a lot more profit because you can usually charge a lot more and have less competition. Think about how brands selling marine grade products for boaters charge 2 to 3 times more for the exact same products. Here's how this works. When you apply this concept to your private label business now, you will make more money because you will be the only, or you would only need to present your offer to those that are most likely to convert. If you only target those most likely to convert, then you'll be able to charge more, increase your conversions, spend less on advertising, and make a lot more profit. And never forget that you're not in business to make sales, you're in the business to make profit, right? This will allow you to create a mafia offer targeting your specific sub niche with messaging perfectly targeted to attract your ideal customers. Let's look at Tylenol for an example. You can see Tylenol has been using creative cloning for a long time. They are positioning their product to appeal to different types of customers with their language and messaging, but their actual product is exactly the same. Tylenol gets to take up more shelf space, or in our case, search term result space, and then get to better serve their customers by calling out specific customers with each positioning. Does this make sense? So you see here, we have Tylenol extra strength for headache, right? And then we have Tylenol rapid release for fast headache, pain, or headache and fever relief. And then we have Tylenol extra strength caplets for adult headache, muscle pain, and fever relief. But you look at the ingredients, even though the boxes and the packaging are different, and the listings on Tylenol.com are different, the actual ingredients are the same. And this is the concept that we're going to leverage. So you should identify exactly who you should be speaking to and the language patterns you should be using. You should always look to see if there is a sub niche where you can narrow your focus and more specifically target a single type of customer. For instance, if all of these razors were marketed the same way, let's go through that again, then it wouldn't really call out to one type of customer at a time, would it? We have a bikini area razor for women. We have a razor for legs. We have another razor specifically meant for men. We have one for underneath the arms, right? So these products are essentially the exact same, but they're specifically targeting a unique customer. So here's a real life example of how you can make 15 times more money on niching down the exact same product. When we first discovered this trick, it changed everything. So let me ask you this. If we were to sell a normal memory foam pillow without targeting any specific sub niche, then we would just get normal bed pillow prices, right? So how much would you think a normal memory foam bed pillow would sell for? So go ahead in the questions box. How much would you give for a regular old bed pillow? Would you give $10, $15, maybe $20? Well, for us, it was $19.99 is what we priced ours at. So we sold memory foam bed pillows for $19 initially. Now, this pillow serves a more specific buyer. If we can make a case in our marketing to serve a more specific buyer, we can increase the price. And so we did, and here's the results. Well, I guess I missed the slide there, but let's jump into this. So now we have shredded memory foam pillow for stomach and back sleepers. We are narrowing who we are presenting to. We are narrowing who we're calling out in the marketplace. We don't want those side sleepers, right? We only want the stomach and the back sleepers. So now we raise our price. Now we can charge double because we're narrowing down exactly who we're selling to. Now, what if we know that a chronic snorer / side sleeper would perceive this product as more valuable, and therefore, right, we're able to sell it for a higher price. And we're already at 2 times the price, but we can do even better. So imagine that we're suffering from, or if you were suffering from neck or shoulder pain that was really terrible, and you're sitting there suffering, and then we came along and offered you this, and you were searching through Amazon for a solution, and you saw this product here, a hypoallergenic bamboo covered shredded memory foam pillow designed for shoulder and neck pain relief for $104. Now, for most of us, this doesn't make sense because we just wanted the $19.99 bed pillow. But for the customer out there who's sitting there in tremendous pain, their neck is killing them, they can't sleep, they haven't been able to sleep, they need that pillow to help with their neck pain, right? We can charge a lot more if our product actually serves this purpose. We're calling out a specific sub-niche customer that has a big, big, big pain problem. Would it be possible that you would consider paying this much, $104 for a pillow, if it helped your neck pain overnight and you were able to feel a lot better? You probably would. Most likely would, right? Because we're talking to that specific sub niche pain. So our product has a much higher perceived value versus a regular bed pillow and becomes your obvious choice. Are you sold on the concept yet? So just for dramatic demonstration, let's say you just had surgery and your doctor instructed you to buy a medical grade hypoallergenic adjustable shredded memory foam pillow designed for post-surgery support. Now check this out. This product is a little different, but this product sells for $180, but your doctor just told you this is what you need for after your surgery. You need the product, the post-surgery memory foam pillow for your back, neck, and leg pain relief, right? You would go ahead and buy this because your doctor told you to, and you're in pain trying to recover from a painful surgery. So the positioning of your product and who you're targeting matters a lot. So simply by changing who you're targeting with your product can dramatically change what you can charge for it. Here's an example from our book. This is literally a page out of our book that I shared with you, Private Label Millionaire Secrets. So if you're selling a shredded memory foam pillow, you might charge $19. If you're selling an adjustable shredded memory foam pillow, you might be able to charge $40 because you can target more pains. If you're selling a memory foam pillow for side sleepers that suffer from snoring, maybe you can charge $80. If you're selling a hypoallergenic bamboo covered pillow designed for back and neck pain relief with a cooling effect, you might be able to charge $140. And if you're selling a medical grade hypoallergenic adjustable shredded memory foam pillow designed for post shoulder surgery support, you might be able to charge $300, and it's all in the positioning. Let me show you a hack for finding sub niches on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and you just start to type in your product and then you put the word "for" behind it, and then just wait for Amazon's algorithm to start auto-populating suggestions, crayons for, and then you get all these sub niches. Pillows for, and you get all these sub niches, right? Pizza cutter 4, look at all these sub niches that automatically pop up. Lamp 4, almost every product, there's a lot of these sub niche customers that are specifically looking for a certain type of product. Like for instance, if my wife was looking for a lamp, she may be specifically looking for a lamp for the bedroom. So which listings are going to stand out to her? The listings that say lamp for bedroom. And this is where it gets really interesting. As you can see, you can do this for almost any type of product that you're in. Jump rope 4, all of these, dog leash 4. So let's talk about this specific example here. So we have dog leash 4, and then we look down here. Now we see dog leash for large dogs. We can even niche down further. So now you can take that niche that we just discovered, dog leash for large dogs, that you just discovered on Amazon, and you can drill down even deeper. And oftentimes you're going to find more profitable sub niche categories. And you can use Google to find these. So you can see we took that search large dogs to Google, and you can see that there are 45 easily targetable large dog breeds that we already found on Google within a few seconds. At goodhousekeeping.com, they're going to just call them out for us. So then we could build listings for our dog leash that are specifically for our large dog breeds. The Bull Mastiff dog leash, we have a Terrier dog leash, we have a Chinook, we have a Dalmatian, we have a Collie, we have a Boxer, we have a German Shepherd dog leash, right? And don't quote me on the dog breeds. I'm not a dog expert, but you get the idea that if we build our listing specifically for one type of dog at a time, we're going to speak directly to one customer at a time, and then we can charge a lot more. So if I'm scrolling through Amazon and I'm looking for a dog leash that will work for my dog, and I have a German Shepherd, and all of the other dog leashes look generic, or they have a small dog hooked to it, and then all of a sudden I see a dog leash listing that says dog leash for German Shepherd, and it's got my dog right there in the image, I'm instantly going to be drawn to it. And that's the one I'm going to be most interested in. And it's not really going to bother me that I have to pay $5 or $10 more, because I know without a doubt that this listing, this product is built for me. It's going to solve my needs. So you can see in all of these situations, you could have a specific listing for each type of dog. So why this works? You can speak directly to one customer at a time, which allows you to charge more, convert higher, rank better, and make more profit. So this also allowed you to take up more Amazon real estate, which is space in the search results, right? And we can make this even more powerful. We can clone any already successful listings that we already have with slight repositionings and rank them for the exact same keywords that we're already ranking for. For example, we had 8 of the listings on page 1 for the search term bamboo pillow. When we launched our bamboo pillow business, we quickly got to about $30,000 per month, but then our sales stalled. This is how our business looked. We would sell a bamboo pillow by targeting everyone, and we made some sales. We wanted to grow, so we tried all of the common growth approaches. We tried spending more on sponsored ads. We tried rebate campaigns. We tried split testing our copy and our images, but we were stuck at about $30,000 per month. Have you ever felt like this? Well, these 2 strategies completely changed the game for us. One is creative cloning, which I'm sharing with you now, and the other one that we'll share with you a few weeks from now. So stay tuned for that one. Here's what our pillow business looked like after we did creative cloning. We had a listing for side sleepers, also ranked for the search term bamboo pillow. We had a listing for back sleepers, also ranked for the search term bamboo pillow, generating sales. Another one for stomach sleepers. And then we cloned ourselves again. And then we had a 3rd and a 4th and a 5th listing for stomach sleepers, plush stomach sleepers, luxury stomach sleepers, deluxe stomach sleepers, the same thing for back sleepers. And we end up with all these listings. And guess what? Each one of these listings is showing up in search results. And each one of these listings contributed to our bottom line or our sales on average to the tune of about $30,000 per month. So our sales went from about $30,000 per month to over $300,000 per month by cloning ourselves. So when a customer would come to Amazon and they would type in the search bamboo pillow, they would see 8 of our listings. They all looked a little different. The images would be different, and the title would be different, and the description would be different. They would see 8 of our listings in search, but they were all ours. They were all in the same brand, and we owned them all. It was really easy for us to rank for that search term at the time, so we just stacked in the listings. And then the customers would come and choose which listing in search meant the most to them, and then they would click and buy. So every one of those listings contributed about $30,000 per month, and then we sold that business. So we 10x'd our sales, and all we had to do was simply resticker the inventory that we already had with a new UPC barcode label. We changed our images, like I said, we changed our title, we changed our bullets and our description slightly to speak more directly to customers drawn to certain language patterns or sleeping styles in our case. This was really easy because we used the exact same inventory that we already had on hand. We knew all of the best keywords that we could at least easily rank for. We were able to target the same keywords with our new listings, and this is all within the same brand. Why does this work so well? This pillow is just easier for us to explain, so we'll stick with this example here. So we've used this on numerous products, not just the pillow, actually hundreds of products, because every position in Amazon search results is worth a percentage of sales for that niche, right? If you go to Amazon and type in any search results, not one listing gets all of the sales. Those individual listings create more sales. Having more listings on page one literally means more money for you. So for our pillow business, we had 8 listings on page one for that search term bamboo pillow. And if you just go and use any software out there that shows you the sales breakdown per listing, you can see that you can only capture so much market share by having one listing in a niche. As you add different listings, though, that position the product differently, you'll capture more of the search results page, and therefore you're going to end up with a lot more sales. So if we only had listing number 1, which is a good spot to be, but our sales would only be 112,000. But let's imagine that we had 8 of these top listings. Just add up 8 of those listings sales, and you can see that the total sales is a lot higher. Is this against TOS? It's completely within TOS because as the brand owner, you get to decide what is a different product simply by assigning that new product a new UPC. Look at these 2 different shoes from Nike. We have the Nike Air Force 1 and we have the Nike Court Vision Low, right? Amazon is not opening up the boxes to these products and saying, these products look too similar. They're the same product. We're going to merge listings. They're not doing that because Nike's the brand owner. Nike gets to decide what's a new product. No, Amazon simply recognizes it as a new product because Nike assigned it a new UPC, even though it looks almost identical. The same applies to your business. So the next question we always get is, will I be competing against myself? Not really how you think. So your competition is competing with you every single day. Why not hold an extra position and compete with yourself, but capture a lot more sales? Nike knows that taking up more shelf space at finish line is going to net them more sales, even though the shoes look similar. And Tylenol knows that the more options that they have on the shelf at CVS or Walgreens, the more chances that they have to grab a buyer's attention for their specific needs. Most Amazon sellers completely miss this opportunity, even though it is one of the biggest opportunities that is sitting in front of you right now. So think about this. You've already done the product research. You already know everything that you need to know about the product. You already have a supplier. You've already done the keyword research. You already have photos. You already have packaging. You already know exactly how to launch this product. All you need to do is copy what you already know and double your business. So I'm going to give you some action items to walk away with today. First of all, decide what product you want to try this on first. Next, find out who is buying your product and why they are buying it. Identify at least 5 sub-niche targets for your product. And let's say, just as an example here, you're selling crayons. You can have crayons for preschool teachers, crayons for stay-at-home moms, crayons for daycare operators, crayons for restaurant kids menus, crayons for you decide it. So number 1, identify 5 opportunities to niche down. Number 2, create duplicated listings targeting your sub-niches. Number 3, write in a language on your listing and in a tone that makes sense for that specific customer avatar. Number 4, call out your customer specifically inside of your title listing, in your listing's title. Number 5, speak to his or her specific need or interest in your description. 6, show his or her problem solved in your images. Number 7, you're going to re-sticker some of your existing inventory with a new UPC barcode, just sticker right over the old one. And then for extra credit, clone your already optimized and successful listings, as we did with the pillows. Step 1, identify 5 opportunities for niching down. Use the Amazon search autofill hack that I showed you earlier. Scroll down your listing to see the buy it with section for other ideas. Ask your customers what other purchases they've made in your niche as part of a brand awareness campaign if you have a customer list. Post in your social channels asking for new product ideas for your brand, and research your target market for trends on Google. And you can also follow other similar brands to see what they are up to. Number 2, create duplicated listings targeting your sub-niche. Create listings one by one that speak to a particular sub-niche and optimize them accordingly. Be sure to change the images, title, descriptions to be sure that it's congruent with your product's positioning. And remember, you are selling the exact same product, but with a different position in the market. As an example, you could sell a marine grade or an industrial grade or restaurant quality, kid friendly, senior friendly, travel safe, You get the idea here. 3, write in a language and tone that makes sense for your customer avatar. Remember that you have to speak differently so they feel more understood. Like housewives versus young mothers, they think and act differently because they're at a different stage in their life. So you want to adopt any nomenclature that is relevant to the niche. Try to answer the questions that they're already asking themselves in their minds. Like, I wonder if this is dishwasher safe. Go ahead and answer that right on your listing to increase your conversion. Number 4, call out your customers specifically in your listing title. Speak to that one customer specifically. If you're selling to new mothers, then talk to a new mother as she would like to be talked to. Use the language that she's used to looking for. So instead of saying, hey, you, what if I said, hey, you, Bob Jones, and your name was Bob Jones? You'd pay a lot more attention. Here's another example. Kids safe, blank, great for young moms. This really would speak to someone who's a young mother who is looking for a product that's kids safe. So if you are looking for ideas about how to modify your existing product line, just trying to give you some ideas here. A senior friendly mobile phone, a German Shepherd dog leash, perfect for a large dog, or an elderly dog owner, something like that. Get creative and always split test. Number 5, speak to your customers' specific needs and interest in your description. So a dog leash works. This dog leash works perfect for a German Shepherd. You would want to call that out, right? Diabetic friendly socks with no seams. That's important if you're a diabetic. Chicago style pizza cutter makes amazing pizza. So these are the types of modifying statements that call out specific customers. You want to make sure that you're really, really targeting and specific in your description. So boater dream come true because we have the marine grade beanbag chair. So it could be a regular old beanbag chair, but if it's specifically targeted to boaters and it's marine grade, now you really have my attention if I'm getting ready to use it on my boat.
Seth, William wants to remind you, don't forget the boost in sales Amazon gives you every time you create a new listing.
Yeah, so let's talk about that here momentarily. So number 6, let's show the problems that customers are having in their lives in our images and how your product can answer that question that the prospect is asking himself. Show your product being used by someone who looks like your avatar. So if you're selling to an elderly man, have an elderly man in your images. It matters a lot. Show a young mother with her infant opening the jar of pickles, young mother's ideal jar opener, right? Show your mariner sitting in a beanbag chair on his yacht. That is the idea here. So number 7, really simple, resticker your inventory. You'll simply resticker or have your third-party logistics company put a new barcode with your new UPC sticker on top of your existing barcode and then send it to Amazon FBA or to your 3PL if you do merchant fulfillment. You cannot have Amazon resticker it because they will get confused and just check the inventory into the old listing. Extra credit. This one's going to make you a lot of money. Clone your already optimized and successful listings, just like we did on the pillow. So if you already have a product that you've launched recently that is going well, then the easiest way to apply this strategy is to clone exactly what you did the first time, but with slightly different positioning. You can target all of the same keywords and take advantage of the gap in the market that you've just discovered. And you want to follow the example that we gave you in the bamboo pillow example. So we launched a bamboo pillow and it started going well almost immediately. We got up to about $30,000 in sales pretty quick, but we were stuck there. And so if your product's selling 10 units a day or 15 units a day and you can't really grow it, well, what if you had another listing selling the exact same product, ranking for the exact same keyword that you just ranked for, but it could also chip in an extra 10 or 15 sales a day? Your sales just doubled and all you did was recreate the success that you already know how to do. So let's get to when you should not clone. When you don't like the result you're getting, don't clone the product listing. So people always ask us this question and the answer is so simple. Don't create more of a bad situation. So if your listing is already in a situation where it's too competitive, too low of profit margins, or too hard to rank, then you don't want to clone into that same space. But I will clarify this a little bit for you. If we were selling the bamboo shredded memory foam pillow and we really only tried to rank for the search terms pillow or memory foam pillow, then we would have had a hard time and we would have really thought that that product stunk because we couldn't rank for those keywords to save our lives. But you know what? We niched down and only targeted the people searching for bamboo pillows. And that keyword we could rank for easily and we can make sales easily for that keyword. So if your listing isn't going very well, consider niching down. If you have a listing that's going well, clone it. If you have a listing that's going poorly, don't clone it. It's pretty simple. You obviously only want to create more of something that is working well. So guys, that is a way that you can create a mafia offer to a specific customer on Amazon really target a sub niche group of customers so you can increase your conversion because you have no competition. You're the only seller on Amazon selling a German Shepherd specific dog leash. But your competitors don't realize is that it's the same dog leash that you're selling on your other 8 listings, but you're just building avatar specific listings. And then what you can do is clone that. So as soon as you figure out that German Shepherd dog leashes sell really well for you, then you should make a second German Shepherd dog leash. You should make a third German Shepherd dog leash until your sales stop growing. So hopefully that helps you and your business. I know it's made us a lot of money. Sean, any questions or commentary?
Man, it's hard to improve perfect. So we'll just leave it at that. Just so you're aware of it, in 9 minutes we have another webinar starting. So let's blow through some of these questions. Hoffman Adrian says, completely blew my mind today, guys. Love it. Denise says, needed to hear that again. William's all about it. William's a big cloner. He asked a question: would you clone the product and sell it in the same category or subcategory?
Yeah. So William, that's exactly what we did with the bamboo pillow. It was just our bamboo pillow stacked in position number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was in the exact same search term, in the exact same category, under the exact same brand, but our images looked a little different. Like one would be our pillow on a bed, one would be our pillow on a plain white background, one would be our pillow on some bamboo. And then the customer would be searching through and say, oh, this one on the bamboo looks good. And then they would buy. And so we had 8 listings to take up all that space in the exact same keyword, in the exact same category, in the exact same niche. Good question.
Love it.
Let's see here. Talal says, I launched a listing for a product with $50,000, assuming that I should expect cloning to be about the same amount. So it depends on what you spent the money on. So if you spend a lot of money on packaging and you spend a lot of money on inventory, you can actually take some of your existing inventory, create a brand new listing, re-sticker it with just a small test. You could even take 10 units or 50 units of your existing inventory and re-sticker it and send it into a brand new listing, and then see how it does. And if it does well, then you can scale it up from there. And then if your second listing does well, you can create a third listing and a fourth and a fifth. So good question.
The biggest takeaway for me, and this is what really drives this home for me, Seth, is that there's a finite number of orders that are going to be placed on Amazon for any product in any category. So the idea here is that you're capturing the lion's share of those orders and not being satisfied with only one listing showing up. So Prit has a question showing. I'm sorry, Prit says, do you use the exact same packaging for all these products?
The packaging is exactly the same, just as so our packaging online is basically our listing. The packaging itself is going to be the same unless you have like niche specific packaging, then you might want to think about it. So for instance, if you're selling a razor and there's a woman's face on it, it says razor for women, and you're trying to create a clone listing for men, then you might think about the packaging. You might niche down and stick within the women's category just because that's where your packaging is. But in general, we never changed our packaging. We just had branded packaging that we would just re-sticker and move on. Looks like we have Milena saying, I asked 2 questions about cloning.
I just asked her to repost those. Don't worry. And then here's a question real quick. Would you use Amazon Vine program to gain reviews with the help of social acceptance? And then we'll get to you, Talal.
Yes, you can use the Vine program to kick things off. It's a brand new listing. Amazon just restricts Vine listings to less than 30 reviews. So if you have less than 30 reviews on a brand new listing, clone your listing and submit it to the Vine program. That's not a problem. And Talal says, this can't be TOS compliant, can it? Absolutely. It is TOS compliant. And the reason why it is because what signifies a new product on Amazon is the UPC, because you're the brand owner. Nike, I try to give you the example, has shoes that look almost identical. And to Amazon, they would be, but Nike says, hey, no. I have a new UPC on that box. That's a new listing. We don't call it the Air Force One. We call it the Nike Dunk Low, right? So you as the brand owner get to decide what's a new listing. So that's why it's compliant.
Yeah. So Seth, just like in your Tylenol example, the Janice says, did the customer ever buy more than one pillow and ask why the price difference? The answer is no. I'm sure it's probably happened, but no one brought it to our attention. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's the niche market that we're going after. It's speaking to that specific customer avatar. It's, as Seth stated, answering the questions that your buyers are already asking in their minds, so that you eliminate the need for any further research and become the obvious choice based on the image and the positioning of the product, like Tylenol headache versus Tylenol migraine versus Tylenol backache. It's all the exact same acetaminophen. It's just uniquely positioned. So don't overthink this. Talal says, mind blown. Mila wants to know how to find a product that would be needed by a starving crowd and could be cloned. I've read your book, but not yet found such a product. And if you would further clarify, I'd be very grateful. This will be the last question, Seth, and we're going to wrap it up.
Okay. So Mila, what I would do is don't overthink it. Just like Sean said, I would pick a product that you think might be good and just test it with a small amount of money. So don't go out there and buy 5,000 units. Instead, buy 5 units or 10 units or 20 units of your product. And then I would build a listing on Amazon and test it to see if it would sell. It's real. Amazon makes it almost like cheating to do market testing these days, because all you have to do is build a listing. And so if I went out there and found 5 product ideas and I built 5 listings, I could probably do that in a day. And I could spend just a few $100s on a couple units for each one, and then launch them and see which one sells the easiest. And now you know what the market is actually telling you in terms of opportunity for you. So Mila, don't sit there and study markets forever. Just pick out some products and test them and see which one takes off for you, because the software and all the data can be deceiving. Until you get your product actually listed on Amazon to see if it'll sell for you, you never really know.
I love it. I was trying to type it in there quickly. I said, thanks to everyone for today. See you next month on our next free masterclass, is what I should say. Tell your friends, tell your seller colleagues to join us. As you know, there's nothing for sale here. It's all value. Help Seth and I support the entire industry as a whole. Seth, where can folks find out or refer to their friends to join us on next month's masterclass?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sean. Let's see here. If you just send us an email at cs@postpurchasepro.com, then we'll get you added.
So, Vicky, answering your question, just email me directly and I'll make a recommendation. Oops.
Vladimir says, thank you guys. It was awesome. Melina says, thank you guys. Great masterclass. Hoffman says, absolutely. Erdem says, thank you guys. Really appreciate all of the kind words. We like to bring you the best ideas and the best strategies every month. So looking forward to seeing you guys all next month. Sean, we do have to jump to our next call there. So we'll let you guys get up here.
Seth and I love to share. We love to strategize. We love to help lift your business. If there's anything we can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can always reach our support department at CS for client support, cs@postpurchasepro.com. If you have any follow-up questions, our helpful staff will be happy to answer those for you. We'd like to wish you all the best until next month. God bless you and your families, and we can't wait to hang out with you again. Thanks, Seth.
Thanks, guys.